Can a wilting flower find life again? Lily Hart thought she knew the answer, until she ran from death and threw herself straight into the arms of a man more dangerous than anything she was fleeing. Vincent Moretti, a powerful figure whose empire was built on fear, offered her shelter in his cold, pristine world. But safety came with a price she never expected: his obsession. As her violent past collided with his brutal present, Lily had to choose between the cage of protection he offered and the terrifying freedom of trusting a man whose hands were stained with blood. Stay with me until the end, hit like, and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. Did it? The rain came down in sheets that night, turning the streets into rivers of reflected neon and blurred headlights. Lily Hart's fingers trembled as she locked the front door of petals and stems, her small flower shop wedged between a dry cleaner and a Vietnamese restaurant in the older part of the city. The smell of jasmine and roses still clung to her clothes, mixed now with the metallic scent of rain and exhaust. She should have left an hour ago, should have closed up before dark like her neighbor, Mrs. Chen, kept telling her to do. But there had been a last-minute order, a funeral arrangement that couldn't wait, and Lily had never been good at saying no when someone needed flowers to say goodbye. The shop lights flickered off behind her. She pulled her thin jacket tighter and started toward the bus stop 3 blocks away, her sneakers already soaked through. The streetlights cast everything in harsh orange, making shadows deeper than they should be. That's when she saw him. Marcus stood across the street leaning against a parked car like he had every right to be there. Like the restraining order she'd filed 6 weeks ago meant nothing. His hands were shoved deep in his jacket pockets, and even from this distance, even through the rain, Lily could see the set of his jaw, that particular angle that meant he'd been drinking and thinking and working himself into something ugly. Her heart dropped straight through her stomach. She turned and walked quickly in the opposite direction, away from the bus stop, away from her apartment, away from anywhere he might know she'd go. Her breath came faster. The rain plastered her hair to her face. Behind her, she heard a car door slam. "Lily!" His voice cut through the rain, sharp and familiar and wrong. She walked faster. "Don't you fucking walk away from me!" She broke into a run. The street blurred around her, closed storefronts, a tattoo parlor, a check-cashing place with bars on the windows. Her shoes slapped against wet pavement. She didn't know where she was going, only that she had to move, had to put distance between them, had to... Footsteps pounded behind her, closer than they should be. Marcus had always been faster. Lily's lungs burned. She cut left down an alley, stumbled over a pothole, caught herself against a brick wall. Dead end. No, wait. There, at the far end, a slim gap between buildings. She squeezed through, scraping her shoulder, and came out on a different street entirely. Towering above her, all glass and steel and money, stood the Apex building, one of those luxury high-rises that had sprouted downtown like expensive weeds. The kind of place Lily had never set foot in. The lobby glowed warm and golden through floor-to-ceiling windows. She ran for it. The doorman looked up, startled, as she burst through the revolving door, dripping and wild-eyed. She didn't stop. Couldn't stop. She made straight for the bank of elevators across the marble expanse, her wet sneakers squeaking obscenely loud. "Miss, you can't—" She slammed her palm against the call button. Once, twice, 3 times. Behind her, the revolving door spun again. Marcus shouldered through, rain-soaked and furious. His eyes found her across the lobby. "Lily, baby, come on. We just need to talk." The elevator dinged. The doors slid open with expensive silence. Lily threw herself inside. And that's when she saw him. The man already in the elevator was nothing like Marcus. Where Marcus was all wild energy and sharp edges, this man was controlled, contained. He stood perfectly still in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Lily's monthly rent, his dark hair silvered at the temples, his face carved into angles that suggested he smiled about as often as statues did. He was older, mid-40s, maybe. And he looked at Lily with eyes that missed absolutely nothing. She pressed herself against the back wall, breathing hard, water dripping onto the polished floor. Her finger jabbed at the closed-door button repeatedly. "Please," she whispered. The man's gaze flicked past her to the lobby, where Marcus was striding toward them, the doorman trailing uselessly behind. The man's expression didn't change, didn't harden or soften or show any particular concern. He simply reached out with one hand and pressed the button for the top floor. The doors slid shut just as Marcus reached them. The last thing Lily saw was Marcus's fist slamming against the closing doors, his mouth forming words she couldn't hear anymore. The elevator began to rise. Silence pressed in, broken only by Lily's ragged breathing and the quiet hum of machinery. She slumped against the wall, her legs suddenly unreliable. The adrenaline was leaving her system too fast, making her shake. "Thank you," she managed. Her voice came out small and broken. "I'm sorry, he won't, I couldn't." "You're bleeding." Lily looked down. Sure enough, blood seeped through her jacket where she'd scraped her shoulder in the alley. She touched it, and her fingers came away red. "It's nothing. I'll be fine. When we get to the next floor, I'll get out. I'll go. I'm sorry for—" "What floor do you need?" She blinked at him. He was still standing in exactly the same position, utterly calm, looking at her like she was a puzzle he was methodically solving. I don't live here. The elevator continued upward without stopping, past the 10th floor, past the 20th. The numbers climbed steadily on the digital display. "The man following you," the stranger said. His voice was quiet, almost soft, but it had weight to it. Authority. "Is he going to wait in the lobby?" Lily's throat tightened. "Probably. We're outside." There's a restraining order, but he doesn't." "Then you can't go back down yet." It wasn't a question. It was a simple statement of fact delivered in that same measured tone. The elevator slowed, the 48th floor, the top. The doors opened onto a private vestibule with exactly one door, solid dark wood with a discreet keypad beside it. The man stepped out and held the door with one hand, looking back at her. "Come." Every instinct Lily possessed screamed that this was a terrible idea, that going anywhere with a strange man was trading one danger for another, that she should ride the elevator back down and take her chances with Marcus and the doorman, and the police if she could get them to actually show up this time. But this man had closed the elevator doors, had stood between her and Marcus without being asked, and there was something in his stillness, something that felt less like a threat and more like a shield. Lily stepped out of the elevator. The man keyed in a code and opened the door. The penthouse beyond was exactly what she expected and nothing like she imagined. Yes, it was massive, all clean lines and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering city. Yes, everything was expensive, from the dark leather furniture to the abstract art on the walls. But it was also profoundly empty in a way that had nothing to do with space. No photographs, no clutter, no signs that anyone actually lived here beyond the basic furniture. It looked like a luxury hotel suite, beautiful and soulless. The man closed the door behind them and engaged 3 separate locks. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the sofa. "I'll get the first aid kit. I'm fine, really. He was already walking away, disappearing through a doorway into what must have been the kitchen. Lily stood dripping on the hardwood floor, clutching her elbows, still shaking. She should leave. This was insane. She didn't know this man. He could be anyone, could want anything. But where would she go? Back to her apartment, where Marcus knew the address. To a friend's place and risk leading him there? The shelter was full. She'd checked last week when things got bad again. The man returned with a white plastic first aid kit and a thick towel. He handed her the towel without a word. "Thank you." Lily dried her face and hair as best she could. She must look insane. She felt insane. "Jacket off." She hesitated, then shrugged out of the wet jacket. Her shoulder throbbed. The man set the first aid kit on the coffee table and opened it with efficient movements. He pulled out antiseptic wipes, gauze, medical tape. "I can do it myself," Lily said. "You can't see it properly." He had a point. She sat on the edge of the sofa, and he crouched beside her, gently pulling the torn fabric of her shirt aside to examine the scrape. His touch was completely impersonal, clinical even. He cleaned the wound with swift competence, applied antibiotic ointment, covered it with gauze. "It's shallow," he said. "You were lucky." "Lucky?" Lily almost laughed. Nothing about tonight felt lucky. "I'm Vincent," the man said, standing and closing the first aid kit. "Vincent Moretti." Lily Hart." He nodded once, like she'd confirmed something he already knew. Are you hungry? The question was so unexpected that Lily could only stare. What? When did you last eat? She tried to remember. Breakfast had been coffee. Lunch had been… Had there been lunch? I don't know. This morning, maybe… Vincent walked to the kitchen without another word. Lily heard cabinet doors opening, the hiss of a gas burner, the quiet clink of dishes. She sat frozen on the sofa, trying to process what was happening. A stranger had just brought her to his penthouse, was making her food, had bandaged her shoulder like it was the most natural thing in the world. This didn't happen. People didn't do this. They looked the other way. They minded their business. They definitely didn't unlock 3 deadbolts and invite bleeding, soaking wet women into penthouses that probably cost more than most people made in a lifetime. I should call the police, Lily said, not sure if she was talking to Vincent or herself. Report that he violated the restraining order. Have they helped before? The question landed like a stone. Lily's hands curled into fists. No! Then they won't help tonight. It was the truth, brutal and simple. She'd called the police 4 times in the past 2 months. They'd taken reports. They'd told Marcus to leave. They'd done exactly nothing useful because Marcus was careful now. He never hit her where it would show, never left marks they could photograph, just followed her, showed up places. Made sure she knew he was there, made sure she understood that the piece of paper from the courthouse meant nothing. Vincent returned with a plate, pasta with olive oil, garlic, fresh herbs. Simple, but perfect. He set it on the coffee table with a fork and a glass of water. Eat. Lily picked up the fork. The first bite was heaven. She hadn't realized how hungry she was until food hit her stomach. She ate quickly, not gracefully, too tired to care. Vincent sat in the chair across from her, watching with that same focused attention. Not staring, just present, observing. What do you do? Lily asked between bites, if only to break the silence. I solve problems. It was both an answer and not an answer at all. Lily glanced around the penthouse again. Whatever problems Vincent solved, they paid extremely well. And you? He asked. What do you do, Lily Hart? I have a flower shop. Have. It's mine, but the lease is… It doesn't matter. She set down the fork, suddenly not hungry anymore. He used to come in and buy me roses, every Friday like clockwork. I thought it was romantic. When did it change? When I told him no. Lily wrapped her arms around herself. Not even no to anything big, just no to moving in together after 3 months, just no. Vincent said nothing, but something shifted in the set of his shoulders, some infinitesimal tightening. Some men, he said quietly, cannot tolerate the word no. The way he said it, like he knew, like he'd seen it before, or worse. Lily looked at him more carefully. There was a scar, very faint, along his jawline, another on the back of his left hand. This was a man who understood violence in a way that suggested he wasn't always the one being protected from it. You didn't have to help me, she said. You could have just sent the elevator back down. Yes. So why didn't you? Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Outside the windows, the city sprawled endlessly, all lights and anonymity. Finally, he said, I don't like men who chase frightened women. Something in his voice made it clear this wasn't a moral stance so much as a personal distaste, like he'd categorized Marcus as a certain type of problem and had responded accordingly. What happens now? Lily asked. I can't stay here. I can't go home. I don't know what to do. Tonight, you sleep. Tomorrow we decide. We, Vincent stood. The guest room is the second door on the left. There are clothes in the dresser that should fit well enough. Lock the door if you prefer. He said it casually, like it didn't matter to him either way, but Lily heard the permission in it, the acknowledgement that she had no reason to trust him, that she should be cautious. Why are you doing this? She asked. Vincent looked at her for a long moment. In the dim light of the penthouse, his features were all shadows and sharp edges, but his eyes were almost kind. Because someone should, he said simply. Then he turned and walked toward what must have been the primary bedroom. There are new toothbrushes in the bathroom cabinet. Take what you need. He closed the door behind him with a quiet click. Lily sat alone in the vast living room, listening to the rain against the windows. Every logical part of her brain said this was a mistake, that she should leave, that this man was a stranger and strangers were dangerous, and she was trading one kind of threat for another. But Marcus was still out there, and she was so tired. She found the guest room exactly where Vincent said it would be. It was as impersonal as the rest of the penthouse. Expensive bedding, neutral colors, nothing personal anywhere. The dresser did have clothes, all with tags still attached. Women's clothes in various sizes, like Vincent kept a wardrobe specifically for unexpected guests. That should have been a red flag. Should have sent Lily running. Instead, she locked the bedroom door, took a long shower in the attached bathroom, and dressed in soft pajama pants and a t-shirt that fit well enough. She brushed her teeth with one of the toothbrushes from the cabinet. When she finally crawled into the bed, her body went limp with exhaustion. The sheets were cool and clean. The mattress was the most comfortable thing she'd ever laid on. Through the wall, she heard nothing. No movement, no sounds of another person existing. Lily closed her eyes and, against all probability, fell asleep within minutes. Morning came too bright and too early. Lily woke disoriented, her body aching, her mind scrambling to remember where she was. The guest room. The penthouse. Vincent. She sat up slowly, testing her shoulder. It hurt, but not as badly as she expected. Sunlight poured through the windows, turning everything golden. From this high up, the city looked almost beautiful. Lily checked her phone, still in her jeans pocket from last night, miraculously alive at 8% battery. 7 missed calls from Marcus. 14 texts, ranging from apologetic to accusatory to threatening. She deleted them without reading past the first line of each. No messages from anyone else. No one checking if she was okay. Her parents had been dead for 3 years, car accident on the interstate. No siblings. Her friends had slowly drifted away as Marcus got worse, either because they got tired of hearing about it, or because he'd made it clear they weren't welcome around her. She was alone. Had been alone for a while now. The realization sat heavy in her chest. Lily unlocked the bedroom door and ventured out. The penthouse looked different in daylight, less like a museum, more like an expensive prison. She found the kitchen, gleaming and modern, and stopped short. Vincent sat at the kitchen island reading a newspaper, an actual physical newspaper, with a cup of coffee in front of him. He'd changed into different clothes, dark slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked up when she entered. "Coffee?" he asked. "Please." He poured her a cup without asking how she took it, setting it in front of the empty stool beside him. Lily sat and wrapped her hands around the mug. The coffee was perfect, strong and dark and exactly what she needed. "How's the shoulder?" "Fine, thank you, for everything." Vincent turned a page of his newspaper. "You slept well?" It wasn't really a question. He somehow already knew. "Better than I have in weeks." "Good." They sat in silence for a while. It should have been awkward, but somehow it wasn't. Vincent read his paper. Lily drank her coffee and watched the city wake up 48 floors below. "I need to go to my apartment," she finally said. "Get some things. Clothes. My laptop. I can't live in borrowed pajamas. Not today." Lily bristled. "Excuse me?" Vincent set down his newspaper and looked at her directly. "The man from last night, Marcus. He knows where you live." "I know that, but I can't just never go back." "I didn't say never. I said not today. You can't just decide that." "I can, and I have." His voice remained perfectly calm, like he was discussing the weather. "Give it 3 days. Let him think you've left town. Let him get bored or distracted. Then we'll retrieve your belongings." "We? You're not going alone." The presumption of it made Lily's jaw tight. She wasn't some damsel who needed a white knight. She'd been handling Marcus on her own for months. "I appreciate your help, but what?" Vincent's gaze pinned her in place. "You'll go back to your apartment, and he'll be waiting. You'll try to pack while he's banging on the door, or perhaps you'll call the police again and wait for them to not help you." Every word was a small, precise cut. Lily wanted to argue, but she couldn't, because he was right. Because Marcus would be waiting. Because she was terrified. "I hate this," she whispered. "Yes, I hate feeling trapped. I hate that he gets to control what I do, where I go. Then we remove him from the equation. Lily looked up sharply. What does that mean? It means, Vincent said, standing and carrying his coffee cup to the sink, that there are ways to handle persistent problems. Legal ways. The emphasis on legal suggested there were other ways too, ways he wasn't mentioning. Lily's hands tightened on her coffee mug. I don't want you to do anything I just want him gone. I want my life back. Then stay here while we work on making that happen. I can't stay here for 3 days. I have a shop, bills, responsibilities. Your shop is closed on Sundays and Mondays, Vincent said. Today is Saturday. That gives us 2 days to start. How do you know my shop schedule? He didn't answer, just looked at her with those dark, knowing eyes. Lily should have felt violated. Should have demanded to know how he knew, but she was too tired, and he'd already helped more than anyone else had, and what did it matter anyway? Fine, she said. 2 days. But then I need to get back to my life. Vincent nodded once. Agreed. Now, do you have any food allergies? The subject change was so abrupt that Lily blinked. What? No. Why? Because I'm making breakfast, and it would be inconvenient if you died in my kitchen. It took Lily a moment to realize he was joking. The delivery was so dry, so deadpan, that it was almost imperceptible. But there, just the smallest shift at the corner of his mouth. No allergies, Ux, she confirmed, fighting a smile. I'm very difficult to kill with breakfast. Good to know. Vincent moved through the kitchen with the same efficiency he'd shown the night before, pulling eggs from the refrigerator, butter, cheese, fresh herbs. His movements were economical, practiced. This was a man who knew exactly what he was doing. Lily watched him crack eggs one-handed into a bowl. You cook often? When necessary. Not I have a personal chef kind of situation. I have a personal chef. I don't like him. This time Lily did smile. Then why keep him? He came with the building. Vincent whisked the eggs with more force than seemed strictly necessary. The developer assumed anyone buying the penthouse would want certain amenities included. I kept most of them to avoid complications. But not the chef. But not the chef in my personal space, no. The distinction was interesting, like Vincent had drawn careful lines around what belonged to him versus what was just part of the image he maintained. He cooked while Lily sat at the island, drinking coffee and trying not to think about Marcus or her apartment, or the fact that she was essentially hiding in a stranger's penthouse. The eggs turned into perfect omelets, fluffy and golden. Vincent plated them with sliced tomatoes and toast, setting one in front of Lily. Thank you. She took a bite. Somehow, it was even better than last night's pasta. Where did you learn to cook? Necessity. When you don't trust anyone to prepare your food, you learn to do it yourself. The casual paranoia in that statement should have alarmed Lily, should have sent up all kinds of red flags. Instead, it just made her sad. What kind of life taught someone not to trust basic things like meals prepared by others? What do you do? She asked again. Really? I solve problems isn't actually an answer. Vincent sat across from her with his own omelet. He cut it precisely, ate methodically. I manage investments, real estate, business acquisitions. Occasionally I mediate disputes. That sounds legitimate. It is. So why do I get the feeling there's more to it? Vincent looked at her for a long moment. Because you're perceptive, and because most legitimate businesses don't require the level of security I maintain. Are you in danger? Always, but not the kind that should concern you. Lily set down her fork. That's not reassuring. It wasn't meant to be. Vincent took a sip of coffee. I'm telling you the truth because you deserve to know what you're stepping into. I can help you with your Marcus problem, but my help comes with complications you should understand before accepting it. What kind of complications? The kind where people pay attention to who I associate with, where being seen with me might make you a target for other people's agendas, where my protection is absolute, but it costs. Costs what? Your anonymity, your normal life, possibly your safety, depending on how things develop. Lily stared at him. Then why offer to help at all? Oh, because the alternative is watching you get hurt by a man who won't stop until someone makes him, and I'm in a position to make him. The question is whether you're willing to accept the consequences of letting me. It was the most words Vincent had strung together since she met him, the most honest he'd been. Lily could see the calculation in his eyes. He was laying out terms like a contract, giving her all the information she needed to make an informed choice. Most people would have dressed it up prettier, would have made promises they couldn't keep, would have told her everything would be fine. Vincent just told her the truth and waited. "What would you do?" Lily asked. "To Marcus. Legally. Restraining orders can be enforced more thoroughly when the right pressure is applied. Jobs can be lost. Apartments can become difficult to keep. Credit can mysteriously dry up. I know people who can make someone's life very uncomfortable without ever breaking a law. That's still ruining his life. Yes, that makes me as bad as him." "No," Vincent said quietly. "It makes you someone who finally fought back. There's a difference." Lily wanted to believe that, wanted to think that defending herself didn't make her a bad person. But the line felt blurry from where she sat. "I need to think about it, she said. "Take your time. You're safe here." They finished breakfast in silence. Vincent cleared the plates and washed them by hand, methodical as everything else he did. Lily watched the city and tried to figure out what the hell she was doing. Her phone buzzed, another text from Marcus. She didn't read it, just put the phone face down on the counter. "He won't stop," Vincent observed. "Men like that don't." "I know." "So what will you do?" It was the same question he'd asked in different words. "What will you do, Lily Hart? Will you keep running, keep hiding, keep hoping it gets better on its own?" "I don't know yet," she admitted. Vincent nodded, accepting this. "Then we'll start with what you do know. You need clothes. I'll have some brought up." "I can't accept. You already are. It's not charity, it's practicality. Would you prefer to wear yesterday's jeans for 2 days?" Put that way, Lily couldn't really argue. "Fine. Thank you. Is there anything else you need? Books? Laptop?" "My laptop is at my apartment. I'll have a new one delivered." "Vincent, it's a loaner. You can return it when you have your own again." He pulled out his phone and typed something quickly. "What size clothes?" Lily told him, feeling surreal. This morning, she'd woken up in a stranger's penthouse. Now he was buying her clothes and laptops like it was nothing. Like this was normal. Maybe for him it was. The rest of the morning passed quietly. Vincent disappeared into what must have been a home office. Lily explored the penthouse carefully, feeling like an intruder despite being told she could stay. Every room was the same, expensive, beautiful, empty. No photographs, no personal touches, just furniture and art and space. It was the saddest home Lily had ever seen. Around noon, a knock came at the front door. Vincent emerged from the office and checked a tablet mounted by the door. Security camera, Lily realized. He opened it to accept several shopping bags from a delivery person Lily never saw. He handed her the bags. "These should work for now." Inside were clothes, jeans, shirts, a sweater, underwear still in packages, all in her size. Also toiletries, a new phone charger, and a laptop exactly like he'd promised. "How did you—" "Never mind." Lily clutched the bags. "Thank you. I'll pay you back." "Unnecessary." "Vincent." "Lily." He looked at her steadily. "Let me help. That's all this is." She wanted to argue more, but what was the point? She needed these things. He could provide them. Fighting about it accomplished nothing except making her feel more helpless. "Okay," she said quietly. "Thank you." The afternoon stretched long and strange. Lily changed into the new clothes, which fit perfectly, because of course they did. She set up the laptop and checked her email, finding the usual mix of order confirmations for the shop and spam. Nothing urgent, nothing that couldn't wait. She should have felt relieved. Instead, she felt unmoored, like her real life was happening somewhere else, and she was just watching from a distance. Vincent worked in his office with the door half open. Lily could hear occasional phone conversations, always in that same measured tone. Always in English, though sometimes with what sounded like Italian words mixed in. Moretti. Italian name. Lily wondered what else she didn't know about the man who'd taken her in. Around 4, Vincent emerged and found Lily sitting by the windows, watching the city move below. "I'm going out," he said. "I'll be back in a few hours. You'll be safe here. Don't open the door for anyone." Lily nodded. "Where are you going?" "To arrange some things." Not an answer. Never quite an answer with him. But Lily had learned that pressing didn't help. "Okay." Vincent paused, studying her. "Are you afraid of being here alone?" No. Surprisingly, it was true. Whatever Vincent was, he wasn't Marcus. He'd had all night and all day to hurt her if that's what he wanted. Instead, he'd fed her and given her clothes and left her alone when she needed space. "Good." Vincent picked up a black jacket from the coat closet. "There's food in the refrigerator. Help yourself to anything. I'll return by 8. Then he was gone, the door locked securely behind him. Lily sat in the silent penthouse and tried to figure out what she'd gotten herself into. Vincent returned at exactly 8 o'clock, carrying a leather portfolio and looking as controlled as ever. He found Lily in the kitchen, where she'd made herself a simple dinner and was washing the dishes. "You didn't have to clean," he said. "I needed something to do." He set the portfolio on the counter. "I have some information for you, if you want it." Lily dried her hands slowly. "About Marcus?" "Yes." She hesitated, then nodded. "Show me." Vincent opened the portfolio and pulled out a thin file. Inside were printouts, employment records, bank statements, police reports. Everything about Marcus's life laid bare in black and white. "He works in IT for a medical supply company," Vincent said, pointing to an employment record. "Makes decent money. Lives alone in a 2-bedroom apartment downtown. Has a history of complaints from ex-girlfriends, but nothing that stuck." Lily looked at the police reports. 3 different women over 5 years. All restraining orders, all eventually dropped. "He's done this before," she whispered. "Multiple times. The pattern is consistent. Charm, control, escalation, then legal action by the victim, then he backs off just enough to avoid real consequences." "How did you get all this?" "I know people who specialize in finding information." Not an answer about legality. Lily decided she didn't want to know. "What do I do with this?" she asked. "That depends. Do you want him punished, or do you want him gone?" "What's the difference?" Vincent tapped the file. "Punished means criminal charges if we can make them stick. Gone means making his life here untenable enough that leaving becomes his best option." "How would you do that?" "His employer has been looking for reasons to downsize their IT department. An anonymous tip about his history with the restraining orders might give them the excuse they need. His landlord could be encouraged to not renew his lease. His credit cards could experience technical difficulties." "That's legal," Vincent finished. "Yes. Ethical, debatable. Effective, absolutely." Lily stared at the file, at Marcus's life reduced to paperwork, at the power Vincent was casually offering to wield. "If I say yes," she said slowly, "what does that make me? Someone who stopped being a victim, or someone who became a bully?" Vincent closed the file. "There's a difference between defending yourself and attacking others. You didn't ask for this situation. You tried the legal routes. They failed. At some point, Lily, you have to decide whether you want to be right or whether you want to be safe." "Why can't I be both?" "Because the world doesn't work that way." It was such a cynical thing to say, such a sad view of how things were. Lily wanted to argue with it, but she couldn't. Because he was right. The police hadn't helped. The restraining order was paper. Marcus was still out there, still texting, still waiting. "How long would it take, Sias?" she asked. "To make him leave?" 2 weeks. Maybe less if he's smart enough to read the signs. "And you can do all this without it coming back to me?" "Yes." Simple, certain, like Vincent had done this before and knew exactly how it would play out. Lily looked out the windows at the city. Down there, 48 floors below, Marcus was probably sitting in his apartment or parked outside her shop or driving past her building, waiting, planning, convincing himself that if he could just talk to her, just make her understand, Everything would go back to how it was. He would never stop on his own, would never just go away, would never accept that she didn't want him. "Do it," Lily said. "Make him gone." Vincent nodded once. No questions about whether she was sure, no moral hand-wringing, just acceptance of her choice. "It's done then. I'll make the calls tonight." He picked up the portfolio and started toward his office. Lily stopped him with a question she'd been holding all day. "Why are you helping me? Really?" Vincent turned back. For a long moment, he just looked at her, really looked like he was deciding how honest to be. "Because I can," he finally said, "and because most of my life has been about building things and protecting things and controlling things, it's uncommon for me to have the opportunity to simply help someone who needs it." "That's it? Just because you can? Is there supposed to be more?" Maybe there was. Maybe there wasn't. Lily couldn't tell if Vincent was being completely truthful or if there were layers she couldn't see yet. But he had helped, was helping. Whatever his reasons, the result was the same. "Thank you," she said. Vincent inclined his head slightly. "You're welcome. Now get some rest. Tomorrow we'll work on next steps." He disappeared into the office, closing the door behind him. Lily heard the murmur of phone conversations starting up, calls made to people she'd never meet, arranging things she'd never fully understand. She went to the guest room and lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. She'd just agreed to destroy someone's life. Maybe Marcus deserved it. Maybe this was justice. Maybe it was just revenge dressed up in prettier words. Either way, it was done. Lily closed her eyes and waited for guilt to come. Instead, what she felt was something uncomfortably close to relief. Sunday morning arrived quiet and gray. Lily woke to find Vincent already in the kitchen, coffee made. Reading his newspaper like this was routine. Like having a strange woman in his penthouse was something that happened all the time. Maybe it did. Lily still didn't really know who Vincent Moretti was. "Morning," she said, pouring herself coffee. "Good morning. How did you sleep?" "Fine. Better than fine, actually." The guest bed was absurdly comfortable, and the knowledge that Marcus's world was about to come crashing down had let her sleep deeper than she had in months. She probably shouldn't feel good about that, but she did anyway. "I thought we could go out today," Vincent said, not looking up from his paper. Lily nearly dropped her coffee mug. "Out? Where?" "Anywhere you'd like, within reason." "But yesterday I said not to go to your apartment. I didn't say you had to stay locked in here." Vincent finally looked up. "You're not a prisoner, Lily." "I'm not sure what I am." "A guest. One who probably needs fresh air and a change of scenery." He had a point. As beautiful as the penthouse was, it was also starting to feel like a very expensive cage. Lily looked down at herself. Jeans and a sweater, both new, both nice enough. "Where would we go?" "Your choice." Lily thought about it. "There's a bookstore, downtown. It's old and cramped and half the shelves are falling apart, but it has everything. I used to go every Sunday before things got bad." "Then we'll go there." "Just like that?" Vincent stood and carried his cup to the sink. "Just like that. Give me 15 minutes to change." He disappeared into the primary bedroom. Lily stood in the kitchen, slightly stunned. This man who'd been so careful about security, who'd insisted she stay hidden, was now casually offering to take her out into the city, where Marcus could be anywhere. Either Vincent was extremely confident in his ability to handle problems, or he was slightly insane, possibly both. 15 minutes later, Vincent emerged in dark jeans and a charcoal sweater that probably cost more than Lily's entire wardrobe. He looked different without the suit, still controlled, still contained, but somehow more human. "Ready?" he asked. Lily grabbed the new jacket from the guest room closet, also mysteriously included in yesterday's delivery, and followed Vincent to the elevator. They rode down in silence, but it was a different kind of silence than that first night. Less frightened, almost comfortable. The elevator opened on the lobby. Lily tensed, half expecting to see Marcus lurking by the doors, but the space was empty except for the doorman and a woman checking her phone while she waited. Vincent guided Lily toward the garage with a hand barely touching her lower back. The gesture was oddly protective without being possessive, like he was making sure she stayed close but not forcing her anywhere. They stopped beside a black car, some European make that Lily didn't recognize but that screamed money. Vincent opened the passenger door for her. "I can open my own doors," Lily said. "I know. Get in anyway." She got in. The interior was all leather and that new car smell. Vincent settled into the driver's seat and started the engine with a quiet purr. "Where's this bookstore?" he asked. Lily gave him the address. Vincent nodded and pulled out of the garage into Sunday morning traffic. The city looked different from inside Vincent's car, cleaner, more organized. Like money created a barrier between the expensive interior and the gritty streets outside. They drove in silence for a while. Vincent was a careful driver. No sudden moves, no aggression, just steady competence. Lily watched the buildings slide past and tried not to think about whether Marcus might see them, whether this was monumentally stupid, whether she was starting to trust someone she shouldn't. "What's your favorite flower?" Vincent asked suddenly. The question was so unexpected that Lily laughed. "What?" "You own a flower shop. You must have a favorite." "Peonies," Lily said after a moment. "They're complicated and temperamental, and they don't last long. But when they bloom, they're perfect." That sounds like a metaphor. Everything's a metaphor if you look at it the right way. Vincent smiled. Actually smiled, small and brief, but real. "I suppose that's true." "What about you?" Lily asked. "Do you have a favorite flower?" "I've never thought about it." "How have you lived this long without thinking about flowers?" "I've had other priorities." Such a Vincent answer, practical and slightly sad. Lily made a mental note. If she ever got back to her shop, she'd figure out what flower suited Vincent Moretti. Something dark and elegant and surviving. Maybe black tulips. They reached the bookstore, a narrow building wedged between a coffee shop and a vintage clothing store. The sign above the door read "Chapter and Verse" in faded gold letters. Lily's chest tightened at the sight of it. How many Sundays had she come here to browse and escape? Vincent found parking, somehow, miraculously, right in front, and came around to open Lily's door before she could do it herself. "I really can't—" "I know, humor me." They went inside together. The bookstore smelled like old paper and coffee and possibility. It was everything Lily remembered: cramped aisles, tilting shelves, books stacked in precarious towers that defied physics. Classical music played softly from speakers somewhere. An elderly man sat behind the register reading, barely glancing up as they entered. Lily felt something in her chest unclench. This place hadn't changed. Marcus hadn't ruined it. "This is perfect," she said softly. Vincent looked around with what might have been mild bewilderment. "It's very, disorganized." "That's the point. You have to hunt for things. It's an adventure. I prefer my books alphabetized." "Of course you do." They wandered the aisles together. Lily ran her fingers along spines, occasionally pulling out titles and reading back covers. Vincent followed with his hands in his pockets, looking slightly out of place among the dust and chaos, but not complaining. Lily found herself in the poetry section, pulling down a slim volume by Mary Oliver. She flipped it open and read a few lines, smiling. "Listen to this," she said, and read aloud. "You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting." Vincent had gone still beside her. She looked up and found him watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "What?" she asked. "Nothing. Keep reading." So she did, reading the whole poem while Vincent listened. When she finished, he took the book from her hands and looked at the cover. "We're buying this," he said. "You don't have to—" "I know, we're buying it anyway." They continued browsing. Lily collected 3 more books, a novel, a collection of essays, a cookbook because the photos were beautiful. Vincent picked up exactly one, a dense history book about Renaissance architecture. "Light reading?" Lily teased. "I like to understand how things are built." "Of course you do." At the register, Vincent paid for everything before Lily could even reach for her wallet. The old man running the shop gave them a knowing look, like he'd seen couples do this dance 1,000 times before. Except they weren't a couple. Were they? Lily wasn't even sure what they were. Stranger and refugee? Helper and helped? Something else entirely? They left the bookstore and walked down the street without any particular destination. The day was cool but clear, and the neighborhood was quiet on Sunday morning. Lily felt almost normal, almost like her old life before everything went wrong. Then she saw him. Marcus stood across the street, leaning against a storefront, watching them. His eyes locked on Lily's face, and even from this distance, she could see the rage there. Every muscle in Lily's body locked up. Her breath stopped. The books in her arms suddenly weighed 1,000 pounds. Vincent noticed immediately. He followed her gaze, saw Marcus, and shifted his position slightly, putting himself between Lily and the street without seeming to move at all. "That him?" Vincent asked quietly. "Yes." Marcus started across the street. Not running, just walking with that particular purposefulness that meant he'd made a decision and nothing would stop him. "Get in the car," Vincent said. "Vincent, now, Lily." The command in his voice was absolute. Lily hurried to the car while Vincent stayed on the sidewalk, watching Marcus approach. She wanted to look back to see what was happening, but her hands were shaking too badly to work the door handle. By the time she got it open and climbed inside, Marcus had reached Vincent. Through the windshield, Lily watched them face each other. Marcus was talking. She could see his mouth moving, see his hands gesturing angrily. Vincent stood perfectly still, hands in his pockets, expression neutral. Marcus said something else and moved like he was going to walk around Vincent to get to the car. Vincent shifted, barely, just a small step, and Marcus stopped. They stood like that for a long moment. Then Vincent said something, just a few words, quiet enough that Lily couldn't hear. Marcus's face went white. He took a step back, then another. Vincent waited until Marcus had retreated back across the street before walking calmly to the car and getting in. "What did you say to him?" Lily asked. Vincent started the engine. "That if he came near you again, I would make sure he regretted it." "That's it?" "That's it." But the way Marcus had gone pale suggested there was more to it than that. Something in Vincent's tone, or his body language, or just the weight of whatever he was, had made Marcus back down without a fight. They drove back to the penthouse in silence. Lily's hands gradually stopped shaking. Marcus knew where she'd been now. Knew she was with Vincent. That should have made things worse, but somehow it felt like the opposite. Like maybe Vincent's presence was protection instead of complication. Back in the penthouse, Lily set her books on the coffee table and collapsed onto the sofa. Her heart was still racing. "I'm sorry," Vincent said. "I shouldn't have taken you out. I thought—" "Don't." Lily cut him off. "Don't apologize. I needed to get out, and Marcus was always going to find me eventually. At least this time I wasn't alone." Vincent sat in the chair across from her, studying her face. "You're shaking." "I'm fine." "You're not." Lily wrapped her arms around herself. "What did you really say to him?" Because whatever it was, he looked terrified. Vincent was quiet for a moment, then, "I told him that you were under my protection now, and that I don't tolerate threats to things I protect." "Things?" "People. Same difference, apparently." "Lily, I'm not ungrateful," she said quickly. "I'm just trying to understand what this is, what we are. Because you keep helping me and I don't know why, and I don't know what you want in return, and it's a lot." Vincent leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. "What do you think I want?" "I don't know. That's the problem." "Then let me be clear." He looked at her directly, those dark eyes unflinching. "I don't want anything from you except for you to be safe. No payments, no obligations, no expectations beyond basic courtesy. You're a guest here until you decide you want to leave. That's all." "People don't just do that." "Most people don't. I'm not most people." "Why?" "Because I have resources and you need help and it costs me nothing to provide it. Why does it need to be more complicated than that?" Lily wanted to believe it was that simple. But nothing in her life had been simple in a very long time, and Vincent was clearly more than he appeared. There had to be a catch, had to be something he wasn't saying, but she was so tired of being afraid, so tired of looking for the trap in every kindness. "Okay," she said finally, "I'll believe you, for now. That's all I ask." They spent the rest of Sunday quietly. Vincent worked in his office. Lily read one of her new books and tried not to think about Marcus, or what would happen tomorrow, or what she was doing in this strange, beautiful penthouse with this strange, beautiful man. That night, lying in the guest bed, Lily admitted something to herself. She felt safer here than she had in her own apartment in months, maybe years. And that was worth more than she could easily measure. Monday arrived with gray skies and the promise of rain. Lily woke to the smell of coffee and something else, something sweet and buttery. She pulled on her borrowed clothes and padded barefoot to the kitchen, where Vincent stood at the stove flipping what appeared to be pancakes. "You cook pancakes?" she asked, surprised. "I cook food. Pancakes are food." He glanced at her. "Hungry?" "Starving." He plated 3 golden pancakes and set them in front of her with butter and real maple syrup, the expensive kind that came in glass bottles. Lily cut into them and nearly groaned at the first bite. "These are perfect. They're adequate. Stop that. Let yourself be good at something." Vincent raised an eyebrow but said nothing, just poured himself coffee and leaned against the counter. He was wearing different clothes again, charcoal slacks and a black shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal those faint scars on his forearms. Lily had noticed more of them over the past few days, small marks that told stories he never shared. "What's the plan for today?" she asked between bites. "I have meetings this afternoon. You're welcome to stay here or venture out if you'd like, though I'd prefer you avoid your usual locations." "Because of Marcus." "Yes." Lily set down her fork. "Did you do it? What you said you'd do?" Vincent took a sip of coffee, considering his answer. "The process is in motion. His employer received an anonymous complaint this morning. His landlord will receive notice of lease violations by Wednesday. These things take time to fully develop." "How do you know all this?" "I made phone calls. People I know made other phone calls. The system works a certain way when you understand how to navigate it." It should have bothered Lily more, this casual manipulation of someone's life, even if that someone was Marcus. But she kept thinking about the look on Marcus's face yesterday, the threats, the months of fear. "Do you ever feel bad about it?" she asked. "Using your connections like this?" "No." "Not even a little?" Vincent set down his cup and looked at her directly. "I feel bad when people get hurt who don't deserve it. Marcus deserves this. Where's the moral conflict?" "It's not about what he deserves. It's about whether I have the right to destroy someone's life. He was destroying yours. That doesn't make it okay for me to do the same back." "Then what would make it okay?" Vincent's voice stayed calm, but there was an edge to it, a challenge. "How much do you have to suffer before you're allowed to fight back? How many times does he have to corner you before you're permitted to make him stop?" Lily didn't have an answer. She pushed her pancakes around the plate, appetite gone. "I'm sorry," Vincent said after a moment. "That was unfair." "No, you're right. I'm being stupid about this." "You're not stupid. You're kind. There's a difference. Kindness doesn't seem very useful right now." Vincent moved around the counter and sat on the stool next to her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something subtle and expensive. "Kindness is the only thing that matters in the end. Everything else is just survival. You don't strike me as someone who values kindness over survival. I don't, but I should." He stood abruptly, like he'd said more than he meant to. "I need to get ready for those meetings. Make yourself at home. There are books in the office if you want something new to read." He disappeared into his bedroom before Lily could respond. She sat alone in the kitchen, staring at half-eaten pancakes and trying to figure out Vincent Moretti. The man was a contradiction wrapped in expensive clothes. He talked about survival like it was the only thing that mattered, then made pancakes and bought poetry books. He orchestrated the destruction of Marcus's life with cold efficiency, then apologized for being unfair in conversation. He kept his penthouse like a museum but cooked meals by hand because he didn't trust anyone else to do it. Lily carried her plate to the sink and washed it carefully. Through the window, she could see the city waking up, people heading to work, traffic building, the normal rhythm of Monday morning. Her shop would be closed today. Tuesday, she'd have to open again, which meant going back to real life. Back to pretending everything was normal while Marcus's world crumbled and she hid in a stranger's penthouse. How had this become her life? Vincent emerged 20 minutes later in a full suit, dark navy with a crisp white shirt. He looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine spread, perfectly tailored, perfectly controlled, perfectly untouchable. "I'll be back by 6, he said, adjusting his cufflinks. There's food in the refrigerator. The Wi-Fi password is on the counter. Don't answer the door. I know. He paused, studying her face. Are you okay? I don't know what I am. Vincent nodded like he understood. That's fair. Take your time figuring it out. Then he was gone, and Lily was alone in the penthouse again. She spent the morning reading, trying to lose herself in fiction, but her mind kept wandering to Marcus, to what was happening to him right now. Was he at work? Getting called into his supervisor's office? Was he confused? Angry? Did he know it was connected to her? Around noon, her phone buzzed. She'd been ignoring it for 2 days, letting the battery die, but she'd plugged it in last night out of habit. Now she had 37 missed calls and 62 text messages, almost all from Marcus. She scrolled through them, her stomach tightening with each one. I know you're with him. Who is he, Lily? Some sugar daddy you've been hiding? This is what you left me for? Money? You're a whore, you know that? A cheap fucking whore. I'm going to find you. We're going to talk about this. You can't hide forever. The messages went on, cycling between rage and false sweetness and threats barely disguised as concern. Lily deleted them all without responding. Then she blocked his number. Then she unblocked it, because what if he escalated and she needed evidence? Her hands were shaking again. She set the phone down and walked to the windows, pressing her forehead against the cool glass. 48 floors below, the city moved on, indifferent to her problems. People were having normal Mondays, going to work, getting coffee, living lives that didn't involve restraining orders and strange men in penthouses. Lily wanted that. Wanted normal so badly it physically hurt. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Is this Lily Hart? A woman's voice, professional and crisp. Yes? This is Detective Sarah Morrison with Metro PD. I'm calling about Marcus Tate. We have a few questions about the restraining order you filed. Lily's heart sped up. What kind of questions? Just routine follow-up. Can you come down to the station today? Or we can send an officer to your location. I'm not at home right now. Where are you? Every instinct told Lily not to answer that. Staying with a friend. Is Marcus okay? Did something happen? We're not at liberty to discuss details over the phone, but we do need to speak with you in person. Can you come to the 3rd Street station? Lily hesitated. Can it wait until tomorrow? I have some things I need to take care of. There was a pause on the other end. I suppose that would be acceptable, but please don't leave the city, Ms. Hart. I won't. I'll be there tomorrow morning. Thank you. Ask for me at the front desk. Detective Morrison. The call ended. Lily stood holding the phone, her mind racing. Police didn't do routine follow-up on restraining orders. Something had happened. Something bad enough to warrant detective involvement. She should call Vincent, should tell him, but he was in meetings and she didn't have his number. And what was she supposed to say anyway? The afternoon crawled by. Lily tried to read but couldn't focus. Tried to watch TV, but nothing held her attention. She ended up in Vincent's home office, looking at the bookshelves. They were filled with exactly the kind of books she expected. Business texts, architecture, history. Some fiction that leaned toward crime and noir. On the desk sat a framed photograph, the only personal item she'd seen in the entire penthouse. It showed a younger Vincent, maybe late 20s, standing next to an older man who shared his features. Both wore suits. Both looked serious. The older man's hand rested on Vincent's shoulder. Lily picked up the frame, studying it. Father and son, probably. The resemblance was too strong for anything else. That's my father. Lily spun around, nearly dropping the frame. Vincent stood in the doorway, suit jacket gone, tie loosened. She hadn't heard him come in. I'm sorry, it's fine. Vincent walked into the office and took the photograph from her hands, looking at it with an expression she couldn't read. That was taken 15 years ago, 3 months before he died. I'm sorry. Don't be. He was not a good man. The flatness in Vincent's voice was somehow worse than anger would have been. He set the photograph back on the desk, adjusting it to exactly the same position it had been in before. Then why keep the picture? Lily asked. To remember what I don't want to become. Before Lily could ask what that meant, Vincent changed the subject. How was your day? Strange. The police called. They want to talk to me about Marcus. Vincent went very still. What did they say? Just that they had questions about the restraining order. They want me to come to the station tomorrow. Did they say why? No, but it didn't sound routine. The detective specifically told me not to leave the city. Vincent pulled out his phone and typed something quickly. What was the detective's name? Morrison. Sarah Morrison. More typing. Then Vincent made a call. Walking to the window as he spoke in low tones Lily couldn't quite catch. She stood awkwardly in the middle of the office, feeling like an intruder in a conversation she wasn't meant to hear. Vincent ended the call and turned back to her. Marcus filed a counter-complaint this morning. Claims you've been harassing him and that I assaulted him outside the bookstore yesterday. Lily's stomach dropped. What? It's a common tactic when the original restraining order starts causing problems. He flips the narrative, makes himself the victim. But that's insane. He's the one who... I know, and the police probably know too. But they have to investigate, which means they need to hear your side. Did you assault him? I spoke to him. I didn't touch him. But you threatened him. I made my position clear. There's a difference. Lily sank into the chair by the desk. This is getting out of control. No, Vincent said calmly. This is Marcus panicking. The complaint at his job probably triggered this. He's trying to create legal problems for you before his world falls apart completely. So what do? You go to the station tomorrow. You tell the truth. You show them the text messages. You make it very clear that Marcus is the aggressor, and I'm simply someone who helped you when you needed it. And if they don't believe me, they will. You have documentation, witnesses, a paper trail. Marcus has accusations and bruised pride. Vincent sat on the edge of his desk, looking down at her. But Lily, you need to understand something. If we continue down this path, if I keep helping you the way I have been, Marcus will escalate. He'll get more desperate. Things will likely get worse before they get better. Are you saying I should stop? Let him win? I'm saying you should know what you're signing up for. This isn't just about making him leave anymore. It's about whether you're willing to fight back when he fights dirty. Lily thought about the text messages, the months of fear, the way Marcus had looked at her outside the bookstore, like she was property he'd misplaced and was determined to reclaim. I'm willing, she said. I'm tired of being afraid. Vincent nodded once, something like approval in his dark eyes. Then we continue. But you need to be smart about this. Don't engage with him directly. Don't respond to messages. Document everything. And when you talk to the police tomorrow, be calm, be factual, and don't embellish. Should you come with me? That would probably make things worse. This is your statement to give. The thought of going alone made Lily's chest tight, but Vincent was right. Showing up with him would just confirm whatever narrative Marcus was trying to build. Okay, she said. I'll go alone. I'll drive you there and wait outside. You won't be completely on your own. It was a small comfort, but Lily took it anyway. They ate dinner together that night, pasta again, simple and perfect. Vincent cooked while Lily sat at the kitchen counter, and they talked about nothing important. Books they'd read, movies they'd seen, the weather, surface things that didn't require vulnerability or honesty. It was nice, almost normal. After dinner, Lily helped clean up despite Vincent's protests. They worked side by side at the sink, and Lily found herself hyper-aware of how close they were, how domestic this felt, how easy it would be to lean just slightly to the left and their shoulders would touch. She didn't lean. Vincent didn't either, but the awareness hung between them, unspoken and thick. Can I ask you something? Lily said, drying a plate. You can ask. I may not answer. Why don't you have anyone? No girlfriend, no wife, no pictures of friends? Just you in this empty penthouse. Vincent was quiet for a long moment, washing dishes with mechanical precision. It's safer that way. Safer for who? For everyone involved. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Lily set down the dish towel and turned to face him. I don't believe that. I think you choose to be alone because it's easier than letting people in. But easier isn't the same as better. Vincent stopped washing, his hands still in the soapy water. He looked at her with an expression that was almost vulnerable. Almost. What do you want me to say, Lily? That I'm lonely? That this penthouse is beautiful and cold, and sometimes I hate coming home to it? That I cook meals by hand because it's the only thing that feels real in a life built on control and distance? He pulled his hands from the water, drying them roughly on a towel. Would that make you feel better about staying here? I don't want to feel better. I want to understand you. Why? Because you're helping me and I don't know why, and it matters to me that there's a reason beyond just because you can. Vincent leaned against the counter, arms crossed, studying her. What if I told you I don't have a good reason, that I saw you run into that elevator and made a split-second decision that spiraled into this, that I'm just as confused about what we're doing as you are? Then I'd say at least we're confused together. Something shifted in Vincent's expression. Some wall cracking just enough to let light through. You're a strange woman, Lily Hart. You're a strange man, Vincent Moretti. Yes, I am. They stood in the kitchen, the city glowing through the windows behind them, and Lily realized with sudden clarity that she was attracted to him. Not just grateful for his help or impressed by his competence, actually genuinely attracted to his quiet strength, his careful hands, the way he listened like her words mattered. The loneliness he tried so hard to hide. It was a terrible time for this revelation. She was still running from Marcus, still dependent on Vincent for safety, still tangled in legal problems and restraining orders and police interviews, but her heart didn't care about timing. I should go to bed, she said, stepping back. Big day tomorrow. Lily. Good night, Vincent. She fled to the guest room before he could finish whatever he was going to say, before she did something stupid like ask if he felt it too, before she ruined the fragile thing building between them by pushing too hard too fast. In the guest room, Lily changed into her borrowed pajamas and climbed into bed. She could hear Vincent moving around the penthouse, cleaning up the kitchen, checking the locks, his usual evening routine. Normal sounds of another person existing in the same space. She hadn't realized how much she'd missed that. Living alone after Marcus had felt necessary, like armor. But it was also lonely. So lonely. Lily closed her eyes and tried to sleep. Tomorrow she'd deal with the police. Tomorrow she'd give her statement and face whatever Marcus had set in motion. Tonight, she just wanted to lie here and pretend that her life was simple. That Vincent was just a man who cooked her meals and talked about books. That this feeling in her chest was something she was allowed to have. She was almost asleep when she heard the soft knock on her door. Lily, are you awake? She sat up. Yes. The door opened slightly. Vincent stood in the doorway, backlit by the hall light. I just wanted to say, earlier in the kitchen, I didn't mean to shut you down. You didn't. I did. You asked an honest question and I got defensive. Lily pulled her knees to her chest. It's okay. I was being nosy. You were being human. Vincent leaned against the doorframe. The truth is, I don't let people close because everyone I've ever cared about has either left or been taken. And at some point, it became easier to just not care. To build this, he gestured vaguely at the penthouse, and convinced myself it was enough. Is it enough? It was, until you ran into my elevator dripping rainwater and looking terrified. He smiled slightly. Now I'm not so sure. Lily's heart did something complicated in her chest. Vincent? Go to sleep, Lily. We'll talk more after you handle tomorrow. He closed the door gently before she could respond. Lily lay back down, her mind racing. What was happening between them? Was it real or just proximity and crisis? Did it matter? She didn't have answers, just the knowledge that Vincent Moretti was becoming important to her in ways that probably weren't smart. Sleep came eventually, fitful and full of dreams she didn't remember clearly. She woke once in the night to hear thunder rolling across the city. Rain hammered against the windows. Somewhere in the penthouse, a door closed softly. Lily wondered if Vincent slept well, or if he lay awake in his perfect bed in his perfect penthouse, thinking about everything he'd built to keep himself safe. Morning came too quickly. Lily dressed carefully in the most professional clothes from her borrowed wardrobe, dark jeans and a simple sweater. She braided her hair back and tried to look like someone the police would believe. Vincent had breakfast ready, toast and eggs and coffee. They ate mostly in silence, both preparing for what came next. "Ready?" Vincent asked when they'd finished. "No, but let's go anyway." The drive to the police station was quiet. Rain streaked the windows. Traffic was heavy with Tuesday morning rush hour. Vincent navigated it all with his usual calm competence. He pulled up to the curb outside the 3rd Street station and put the car in park. "I'll wait here," he said. "Take as long as you need. If they try to arrest you or hold you, they won't. If they do, don't say anything else. Ask for a lawyer. Call me immediately. You're being paranoid. I'm being prepared. There's a difference." Lily reached over and squeezed his hand briefly. "Thank you. For everything." Vincent's fingers tightened around hers for just a moment. "Be honest. Be calm. You'll be fine." She got out of the car and walked into the station before she could lose her nerve. The lobby was exactly what she expected. Worn linoleum, plastic chairs, a desk sergeant who looked perpetually tired. "I'm here to see Detective Morrison," Lily said. "My name is Lily Hart." The sergeant made a call, then directed her to a waiting area. Lily sat and tried not to fidget. Around her, the station hummed with activity, phones ringing, people coming and going, the background noise of bureaucracy and crime. 10 minutes later, a woman in her 40s with short brown hair and tired eyes appeared. "Ms. Hart? I'm Detective Morrison. Thanks for coming in. Follow me." Lily followed her down a hallway to a small interview room. Table, chairs, mirror that was probably two-way glass. Morrison gestured for her to sit. "Can I get you anything? Water? Coffee?" "Water would be great." Morrison left and returned with a bottle of water and a manila folder. She sat across from Lily and opened the folder. "So," she said, pulling out paperwork, "Marcus Tate filed a complaint yesterday alleging harassment and assault. Can you walk me through your relationship with him?" Lily took a breath and told the truth. All of it. How they'd met. How quickly things had turned controlling. The escalation. The restraining order. Running from him into Vincent's building. The bookstore encounter. Morrison took notes, her expression neutral. "And Vincent Moretti? How do you know him?" "I don't, really. He was just in the elevator when I ran in. He helped me." "And now you're staying with him?" "Yes. That's quite a leap from stranger to house guest. I didn't have anywhere else to go. My ex knows where I live. I couldn't go home." Morrison wrote something down. "Has Mr. Moretti been inappropriate with you in any way?" "No, he's been nothing but kind." "And at the bookstore, what happened exactly?" "We were leaving and Marcus appeared across the street. Vincent told me to get in the car. Marcus approached him. They talked. Marcus left. That's all." "Mr. Tate claims Mr. Moretti threatened to kill him." Lily's stomach clenched. "I don't know what Vincent said. I was in the car, but I know Vincent didn't touch him." Morrison studied her for a long moment. "Ms. Hart, I'm going to be straight with you. Marcus Tate has a history. 3 prior restraining orders from 3 different women. Same pattern every time. So when he comes in here claiming he's the victim, we're skeptical." Relief flooded through Lily. "So you don't believe him?" "I didn't say that. We have to investigate all complaints, but his credibility isn't great." Morrison flipped through the folder. "That said, Vincent Moretti is a person of interest in several ongoing investigations. Nothing we can prove, but he's connected to some questionable business dealings. So when his name comes up in connection with a domestic dispute, we pay attention." "What kind of investigations?" "I can't discuss that. But my advice? Be careful who you trust, Ms. Hart. Sometimes the person helping you has their own agenda." The words landed like stones. Lily thought about Vincent's reluctance to talk about his work, the security, the empty penthouse, the way he'd made Marcus's life start to crumble with just a few phone calls. Who was Vincent Moretti, really? "Am I free to go?" Lily asked. "Yes, but stay available. We may have more questions as the investigation continues." Lily stood, her legs unsteady. "Am I in trouble?" "No, but keep documentation of everything. Text messages, emails, any contact from Mr. Tate. And Miss Hart?" Morrison's expression softened slightly. "Get a good lawyer, just in case." Lily left the station in a daze. The rain had stopped, but the sky was still gray and heavy. Vincent's car was exactly where she'd left it, and he was inside, reading something on his phone. She got in without speaking. "How did it go?" Vincent asked. "They don't believe Marcus, but they're investigating you." Vincent's expression didn't change. "I know." "You know? That's all you have to say?" "What would you like me to say?" "How about what they're investigating you for? What questionable business dealings?" "Who you actually are." Vincent set down his phone and looked at her directly. "I told you I solve problems. Sometimes those solutions exist in gray areas. Sometimes the people I associate with aren't entirely legal in their operations. But I've never been convicted of anything, and they won't find anything to convict me of now." That's not reassuring. It's honest. Lily wanted to be angry, wanted to feel betrayed, but she'd known from the beginning that Vincent wasn't exactly legitimate. She just hadn't wanted to look too closely at what that meant. "Take me back to the penthouse," she said quietly. "I need to think." They drove in heavy silence. Lily watched the city pass and tried to figure out what she was doing. Vincent had helped her, yes. But at what cost? What was she becoming entangled in? Back at the penthouse, Lily went straight to the guest room and closed the door. She sat on the bed and stared at nothing, her mind churning. An hour later, Vincent knocked softly. "Lily, can we talk?" "I don't know what there is to say." "Then let me talk and you listen." She opened the door. Vincent stood in the hallway, still in his suit from this morning, looking tired in a way she hadn't seen before. "Come in," she said. He sat in the chair by the window. Lily sat on the bed, maintaining distance. "Ask me anything," Vincent said. "Whatever you want to know. I'll answer honestly." "Everything?" "Everything." Lily took a breath. "Are you in the Mafia?" "No, but I work with people who are connected to organized crime. I broker deals, mediate disputes. Occasionally I help someone who needs problems solved discreetly." "That's illegal." "Sometimes, not always. The law is complicated." "Have you ever killed anyone?" Vincent was quiet for a long time. "Yes." The single word hung in the air between them. Lily felt something cold settle in her stomach. "In self-defense?" she managed. "Once. The others were business." "Business." "Yes." "And you're just telling me this? Just admitting to murder?" "You asked for honesty." Vincent's voice stayed calm, factual. "I could lie, tell you I'm just a businessman who happens to know people, but you deserve better than that." Lily stood and walked to the window, pressing her hands against the glass. Below, the city continued its oblivious existence. Above, a man who'd killed people sat calmly explaining it like it was nothing. "Why did you help me?" she asked without turning around. "Really?" "Because I saw you running and recognized the fear. Because I remembered what it felt like to be trapped. Because for once in my carefully controlled life, I did something just because it felt right instead of strategic." "And now?" "Now it's more complicated." "Because you're attracted to me." She heard him stand, felt him move closer. "Yes." Lily turned to face him. "That's the most honest thing you've said." "I'm trying, Lily. I know I'm not what you thought. Not safe or simple or good, but I'm trying to be honest about who I am." "Who are you, Vincent? Really?" He stepped closer still, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. "I'm a man who's spent 15 years building an empire on fear and control. Who's done things I can't take back. Who's alone because being close to me is dangerous, and I've never thought anyone was worth that risk." He reached up, his fingers hovering near her face but not touching. "Until now." Lily should step back, should tell him this was insane, should run from this man who'd admitted to murder with the same tone people used to discuss the weather. Instead, she closed the distance between them and kissed him. Vincent went still for half a second, surprised. Then his arms came around her and he kissed her back like he'd been waiting for permission. Like this was something he'd wanted but never let himself have. The kiss was everything Lily didn't know she needed, fierce and honest and completely present. No hesitation, no performance. Just two people tired of being careful, finally letting themselves want something real. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Vincent rested his forehead against hers. "This is a terrible idea," he said. "I know. I'm dangerous. Being with me puts you at risk." "I know that too." "Then why?" "Because I'm tired of being afraid, and you make me feel brave." Vincent pulled back just enough to look at her, his dark eyes searching hers. Whatever he saw there made something in his expression soften. "Brave or stupid," he murmured. "Both, probably." He kissed her again, softer this time. When he pulled away, he stepped back, putting distance between them. "We should talk about this, Yo," he said. "Really talk. About what it means. What happens next." "What do you want to happen?" "I want you to stay. Not as a guest hiding from her ex, as—" he hesitated, "as someone who wants to be here." "What if I do want to stay? What does that look like?" "Complicated. Dangerous, possibly. My life isn't normal, Lily. Being part of it means accepting things that aren't legal or safe or simple. Like you destroying Marcus's life. Like that, yes. Among other things." Lily walked to the bed and sat, needing to think. Vincent stayed by the window, giving her space. "I need time," she finally said, "to process all this, to figure out if I can actually handle what you're offering. Take whatever time you need. Nothing changes unless you decide it does." "Will you still help me with Marcus?" "Yes, that doesn't depend on anything else." Lily nodded, relief and confusion warring in her chest. She'd kissed a man who'd killed people, who existed in moral gray areas she didn't fully understand, who looked at her like she was something precious and breakable. It should terrify her. Instead, it felt like possibility. "I'm going to lie down," she said. "Think for a while." Vincent moved toward the door. "I'll be in my office if you need anything." "Vincent?" He turned back. "Thank you for being honest. You deserve the truth." He left, closing the door softly. Lily lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling, her lips still tingling from the kiss, her mind racing through everything she'd learned. Vincent Moretti was a criminal, a killer, a man who operated outside the law with enough power to make people disappear, figuratively or literally. He was also kind, lonely, careful with her in ways that suggested he knew exactly how much damage he was capable of and chose not to inflict it. Lily didn't know which version was more real, didn't know if she could live with the first to have the second, but she knew with absolute certainty that walking away now would be one of the hardest things she'd ever do, and she wasn't sure she wanted to. The rest of Tuesday passed in a strange, suspended state where Lily existed in Vincent's penthouse, but felt like she was watching her life from outside her body. She wandered the rooms, picked up books without reading them, made tea she forgot to drink. Vincent stayed in his office with the door closed, giving her the space she'd asked for, but making his presence known through small sounds, keyboard clicks, the occasional phone call, footsteps crossing hardwood. Around 6, he emerged and found her standing by the windows, watching the city lights begin to emerge as dusk settled. "I'm making dinner," he said quietly. "You should eat." "I'm not hungry." "You need to eat anyway." He was right, of course. Lily followed him to the kitchen and sat at the counter while Vincent moved through the familiar routine of preparing food. Tonight, it was chicken, roasted vegetables, rice. Simple and nourishing and completely at odds with the conversation they'd had earlier. They ate in silence. Lily pushed food around her plate, managing a few bites. Vincent ate methodically, watching her with those dark, unreadable eyes. "Say something," Lily finally said. "Anything." "What do you want me to say?" "I don't know. That this is going to work out? That I'm not insane for still being here?" Vincent set down his fork. "I can't promise it'll work out. I don't know if you're insane, but I can tell you that you're safe here, and that whatever you decide, I'll respect it." "Even if I decide to leave?" "Especially then." The certainty in his voice was almost painful. Lily set down her own fork and looked at him directly. "How can you be so calm about this? I just found out you've killed people, and you're sitting here making chicken like it's nothing. Would you prefer I be dramatic about it? Apologize for who I am? I can't change my past, Lily. I can only be honest about it and let you choose what that means to you." It should mean I run. Any sane person would run. Yes, but I'm not running. No, Vincent said softly. You're not. They looked at each other across the kitchen island, the weight of unspoken things pressing down between them. Lily wanted him to make this easier somehow, to say something that would make the decision clear. But Vincent just waited, patient and still, letting her work through it on her own. I need to go to my shop tomorrow, Lily said, changing the subject because she couldn't handle this one anymore. I've been closed too long. People will notice. All right. Just like that? No arguments about it being dangerous? Would arguments change your mind? No? Then there's no point. Vincent stood and started clearing dishes. I'll drive you. Make sure Marcus isn't lurking. You don't have to. I know, I'm doing it anyway. Lily watched him wash dishes with the same precise care he applied to everything. She thought about what Detective Morrison had said, that Vincent had his own agenda. But if he did, Lily couldn't see it. All she saw was a man who cooked her meals and gave her space and asked for nothing in return except honesty. Maybe that was the agenda. Maybe this was how people like Vincent operated, slow and patient, building trust until you didn't realize how deep you'd gotten. Or maybe he was exactly what he appeared to be, lonely and careful and trying. Vincent? Yes? Earlier, when I kissed you, did you mean what you said about wanting me to stay? His hand stilled in the soapy water. Every word. Why? He turned to face her, water dripping from his fingers. Because in 3 days you've made this place feel less like a tomb and more like a home. Because you look at me like I'm human instead of useful. Because when I'm with you, I remember there are things worth protecting beyond assets and territory. Lily's throat tightened. That's a lot of pressure. I'm not asking you to fix me, just be here, if you want to be. And if I can't handle the rest of it, the illegal things, the danger, whatever else comes with your life, then we figure out what works and what doesn't. I'm not asking for everything, Lily, just a chance. She stood and walked around the counter to where he stood. Up close, she could see the faint lines at the corners of his eyes, the small scar along his jaw, the way his shoulders held tension he never quite released. I'm scared, she admitted. Good. You should be. I'm terrifying. The deadpan delivery made her laugh despite everything. You're really not. I've killed people. I know, and somehow that's less scary than how I feel about you. Vincent reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, the gesture achingly gentle. How do you feel about me? Like I'm falling, and I don't know if you're going to catch me or let me crash. I'll catch you. That's not the question. The question is whether you trust me enough to fall. Lily leaned into his touch, letting herself have this small intimacy. I'm working on it. That's all I ask. They stood like that for a long moment, close but not quite embracing, existing in the space between what they wanted and what they weren't sure they could have. Then Lily's phone rang, shattering the moment. She pulled it from her pocket and looked at the screen. Unknown number again. Don't answer it, Vincent said. But Lily was already swiping to accept. Hello? Heavy breathing on the other end. Then Marcus's voice, tight with barely controlled rage. I know you're with him. Every muscle in Lily's body locked. Vincent's expression shifted from soft to dangerous in an instant. Marcus, don't. Just listen. I lost my job today, Lily. They fired me. Said there were complaints about my conduct. Funny how that happened right after you shacked up with your rich boyfriend. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. The shout made Lily flinch. Vincent moved closer, his jaw tight. You think I don't know? You think I don't see what's happening? He's destroying my life and you're just letting him. You destroyed your own life when you couldn't accept no for an answer. I loved you. I did everything for you. You controlled me. You followed me. You made me afraid to go home because you wouldn't listen. You wouldn't understand that we're supposed to be together. Lily's hand tightened on the phone. We're not. We never were. And if you don't leave me alone, You'll what? Sick your attack dog on me again? Tell him to threaten me some more? Vincent held out his hand. Lily hesitated, then gave him the phone. Marcus, Vincent said, his voice perfectly calm and absolutely lethal. This is your only warning. Stop calling, stop texting, stop thinking about her. If I hear that you've come within 100 feet of Lily or her shop, what happened to your job will seem pleasant by comparison. Marcus laughed, high and manic. You think you scare me? You think because you have money and connections you can just erase me? I don't think it. I know it, and I will. One more contact, one more message, one more drive past her apartment, one more anything, and you'll find out exactly how thorough I can be. She's not yours. She's not yours either, and unlike you, I understand the difference between protecting someone and owning them. This isn't over. Yes, Vincent said quietly. It is. He ended the call and handed the phone back to Lily. His expression was granite, cold in a way she hadn't seen since that first night in the elevator. I'm sorry, Lily said. Don't apologize for him. Vincent pulled out his own phone and made a call. Marco, I need surveillance on Marcus Tate. Last known address in the file. 24/7 coverage. If he goes near Lily Hart or Petals and Stems, I want to know immediately. He paused, listening. I don't care what it costs. Just do it. He hung up and looked at Lily. No more chances. He's made his choice. What are you going to do? Whatever I have to. The flat certainty in his voice should have terrified her. Instead, Lily felt something loosen in her chest. Someone was finally taking Marcus seriously. Someone was finally making him understand that actions had consequences. Thank you, she said. Vincent's expression softened slightly. You don't have to thank me for this. Yes, I do. Everyone else, the police, my friends, everyone. They all told me to just wait it out. Let the system work. Stay safe and don't provoke him. But you actually did something. Because the system doesn't work. Not for this. Not fast enough. Lily thought about Detective Morrison's warnings about Vincent's questionable dealings, about how the legal routes had failed her over and over, about the difference between what was right and what was effective. I should feel bad about this, she said, about you destroying his life. But you don't. No, I feel relieved. Does that make me a terrible person? Vincent closed the distance between them and took her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. It makes you someone who's tired of being a victim. There's nothing terrible about that. The detective said I should be careful, that you have your own agenda. She's right. I do. What is it? You, Vincent said simply. That's the agenda. Keep you safe. Make the threat go away. See if there's something real between us. That's all. That's everything. Yes, it is. Lily kissed him again, harder this time, pouring 3 days of fear and confusion and unexpected want into it. Vincent responded immediately, pulling her closer, one hand tangling in her hair. The kiss deepened, became something urgent and slightly desperate. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Vincent rested his forehead against hers. We should slow down, he said, though his hand stayed on her waist. Why? Because you're vulnerable right now, and I don't want you confusing safety with something else. I'm not confused. Lily, I'm not, she insisted. I know the difference between being grateful and being attracted, and I'm both, but they're separate things. Vincent pulled back to look at her properly. You're sure? No, I'm terrified and confused and probably making a huge mistake, but I'm sure about this. She pulled him down into another kiss. This time Vincent didn't pull back, didn't offer caution or restraint. He kissed her like he'd been holding back and finally had permission to stop. They stumbled backward toward the living room, hands exploring, mouths hungry. Vincent's control cracked just enough to let Lily see the want beneath it, the loneliness, the need, the desire for connection he usually kept locked away. They collapsed onto the sofa, tangled together, and for a while there was nothing but touch and breath, and the city glowing through the windows around them. Later, much later, they lay on the sofa with Vincent's arm around Lily's shoulders and her head on his chest. The penthouse was dark except for the ambient light from the city. Vincent's heartbeat was steady under her ear. What happens now? Lily asked quietly. Now, you go to your shop tomorrow, and I make sure Marcus stays far away. And we figure out what this is. What do you want it to be?" Vincent was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know. I haven't let myself want anything personal in 15 years. I'm not sure I remember how. We could start small. Go on an actual date, do normal people things. I'm not sure I know how to do normal. Me neither. We can be abnormal together." Vincent's chest moved with silent laughter. "That sounds terrible." "Probably. Want to try anyway?" "Yes." They stayed like that until Lily started to drift off. Vincent shifted carefully, gathering her up. "I can walk," she protested sleepily. "I know." He carried her to the guest room and set her down on the bed. Lily caught his hand before he could leave. "Stay," she said. "Lily, just sleep. I don't want to be alone tonight." Vincent hesitated, then nodded. He kicked off his shoes and lay down beside her on top of the covers, maintaining a careful distance. Lily shifted closer, tucking herself against his side. His arm came around her automatically. "This is probably a mistake," Vincent said quietly. "Probably. We barely know each other." "I know." "You should be more careful." "So should you." Vincent pressed a kiss to the top of her head. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow might be difficult." Lily closed her eyes and let herself relax for the first time in days. Tomorrow could be difficult. Tonight she had this: warmth and safety and the steady rhythm of another person breathing beside her. It was enough. She woke once in the night to find Vincent still there, still awake, staring at the ceiling. His arm was still around her. "Can't sleep?" she whispered. "Not used to sharing space." "Should I move?" "No." His arm tightened slightly. "Stay." So she did, drifting back to sleep with the knowledge that Vincent was watching over her, that for tonight at least nothing could touch her. Morning came gray and cold. Lily woke alone, the space beside her empty but still warm. She could hear Vincent in the kitchen, the familiar sounds of coffee and breakfast. She got up and dressed quickly, bracing herself for whatever came next. Today, she had to face her real life again, her shop, her business, the normal world that existed outside Vincent's penthouse. In the kitchen, Vincent had made eggs and toast. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept much after she drifted off. "Morning," Lily said. "Good morning. How did you sleep?" "Better than you, I think." Vincent smiled slightly. "I don't sleep well in general. Last night was actually better than usual." "Because of me?" "Because you're here, yes." They ate breakfast together, falling into the routine they'd developed over the past few days. Lily helped clean up afterward, and they got ready to leave in comfortable silence. The drive to Petals and Stems took 20 minutes through morning traffic. Vincent parked across the street where he could watch the entrance. "I'll be right here," he said. "You see Marcus anywhere, you call me immediately." "I will." "Lily." Vincent caught her hand. "Be careful." "I'm just going to work." "I know. But Marcus called last night. He's escalating. Don't underestimate what that means." Lily squeezed his hand. "I won't." She got out of the car and crossed the street to her shop. The familiar sight of it made her chest tight. The window boxes she'd planted herself, the hand-painted sign, the door she'd walked through 1,000 times. This was hers. This was what she'd built before Marcus, before Vincent, before everything got complicated. She unlocked the door and stepped inside. The shop smelled like it always did, earth and flowers and growth. Everything was exactly as she'd left it, if a little dusty from being closed. Lily flipped on the lights and got to work, checking inventory, watering the plants that had survived, making a list of what she needed to order. It felt good to have her hands in soil again, to focus on simple, concrete tasks that had clear solutions. Water this, trim that, arrange these. No moral ambiguity, no danger, just work. The door chimed an hour later. Lily looked up, tensing, but it was just Mrs. Chen from the dry cleaner next door. "Lily, you're back. We were worried." "I'm fine, Mrs. Chen. Just needed a few days away." The older woman studied her with sharp eyes. "That man who bothers you, he was here Monday, looking in your windows. I told him to leave or I'd call the police." Lily's stomach dropped. Did he leave? Eventually, but he was angry, shouting about how you'd ruined his life. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring trouble to the neighborhood. Not your fault. Mrs. Chen patted her arm. But be careful, okay? Men like that don't just give up. She left, and Lily stood alone in her shop, the warmth from working fading. She pulled out her phone and texted Vincent. Mrs. Chen says Marcus was here Monday, looking in windows. The response came immediately. I know. I had someone watching. He didn't try to get inside. You had someone watching my shop? Since Saturday. I told you, I'm thorough. Lily didn't know whether to be grateful or unnerved. She settled for both. The morning passed slowly. A few customers came in, regulars who were happy to see her back. Lily made small talk, arranged bouquets, handled transactions. Normal work, normal life. Except nothing felt normal anymore. Around noon, the door chimed again. Lily looked up and froze. Marcus stood in the doorway. He looked terrible, unshaven, eyes red-rimmed, clothes wrinkled like he'd slept in them. He closed the door behind him and locked it. Marcus, you need to leave. There's a restraining order. I don't care about the restraining order. His voice was calm, which was somehow worse than the rage. We need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. You destroyed my life, Lily. I lost my job. My landlord's evicting me. My credit cards are maxed out, and my bank account is frozen. And you're going to stand there and tell me there's nothing to talk about? Lily's hand moved slowly toward her phone in her pocket. I didn't do any of that. No, your boyfriend did. On your behalf. Same thing. We're not. Lily stopped. What was Vincent? She didn't even know. It doesn't matter. You need to leave before I call the police. Go ahead. Call them. I'll tell them everything. About how you and your rich friend conspired to ruin me. About how he threatened to kill me. About how you're both harassing me. That's not what happened, isn't it? Marcus stepped closer. Lily stepped back, her hip hitting the work counter. You ran to him the second you could. Probably couldn't wait to get away from me. To trade up for someone with money and power. I ran because you were chasing me. Because you wouldn't leave me alone. I loved you. You controlled me. There's a difference. Marcus's face twisted. I gave you everything. I was patient. I waited for you to come around. And the second I pushed back even a little, you got scared and ran to someone else. You didn't push back a little. You stalked me, threatened me, made me afraid in my own home. Because you wouldn't listen. Lily's fingers closed around her phone. She pulled it out, keeping her movements slow. I'm calling Vincent. Of course you are. Can't fight your own battles. No, I can't fight you. Because you're bigger and stronger and you don't care about what I want. She hit Vincent's number. It rang once. Marcus lunged forward and grabbed the phone from her hand, throwing it against the wall. It shattered. Lily screamed. Marcus grabbed her arm, his grip painful. We're going to talk, and you're going to listen, and you're going to make this right. Let go of me. Not until you understand what you've done. Not until you fix it. Lily tried to pull away. Marcus's grip tightened. She could see the wildness in his eyes, the desperation of someone who'd lost everything and had nothing left to lose. The shop door exploded inward. Vincent came through it like a storm, moving faster than Lily had ever seen him move. He crossed the space in 3 strides, and his fist connected with Marcus's jaw with a sickening crack. Marcus went down hard, releasing Lily. She stumbled back against the counter. Vincent didn't stop. He hauled Marcus up by his shirt and hit him again. And again. Blood sprayed across the floor. Vincent, stop! Lily shouted. He didn't stop. His face was blank, emotionless, like he'd left humanity behind and become something else entirely. Something built for violence. Marcus tried to fight back, landing a wild punch that caught Vincent's ribs. Vincent barely flinched. He grabbed Marcus's arm and twisted, and Lily heard something pop. Marcus screamed, Vincent! Lily grabbed his arm. Stop! You're going to kill him! That got through. Vincent froze, his fist raised for another blow. He looked at Lily, and she saw the exact moment the blankness faded and he came back to himself. He dropped Marcus, who collapsed onto the floor, groaning. Lily, Vincent said, his voice rough. Are you hurt? I'm fine, but what did you... Police sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Vincent looked at the door he'd kicked in, at Marcus bleeding on the floor, at his own split knuckles. "We need to go." "What? No, we need to—" "Now, Lily." He grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the back of the shop. They went through the storage room and out the rear exit into the alley behind the building. Vincent's car was already there, engine running, another man in the driver's seat. Vincent opened the back door and practically pushed Lily inside, sliding in after her. "Drive." The car pulled away smoothly as police cars rounded the corner onto the main street. Lily sat in stunned silence, her mind trying to process what had just happened. Vincent sat beside her, breathing hard, blood on his knuckles. He pulled out his phone with shaking hands and made a call. "It's done. Marcus Tate just violated a restraining order and assaulted Lily Hart at her place of business. I defended her. He's injured but alive. Police are on scene now. I need a lawyer at the 3rd Street station within the hour." He listened for a moment. "Yes, all of it. Make it airtight." He hung up and looked at Lily. "Are you okay? You beat him unconscious. He had his hands on you. You could have killed him. I wanted to." Vincent's voice was flat, honest. "I wanted to kill him for touching you, but you asked me to stop, so I did." Lily stared at him. This was the man Detective Morrison had warned her about, the one who operated outside the law, who solved problems with violence when it suited him, who just destroyed another human being without hesitation or remorse. And he'd done it to protect her. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Back to the penthouse. You'll pack a bag. We're leaving the city for a few days." "Leaving? I can't just—" "Marcus is going to tell the police I attacked him unprovoked, that I broke into your shop and assaulted him. It won't stick. Too many cameras, too much evidence of him violating the restraining order. But the investigation will take time. Better if we're not here while it plays out. So we run. We create space. There's a difference." The driver pulled up to the Apex building. Vincent helped Lily out of the car, his hand gentle on her elbow despite the blood still on his knuckles. They rode the elevator in silence. In the penthouse, Vincent immediately went to the bathroom to wash his hands. Lily stood in the living room, her whole body shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. Vincent returned, hands clean, and went straight to her. "Let me see your arm." Lily held it out. There were already bruises forming where Marcus had grabbed her. Vincent's jaw tightened. "I should have hit him harder." "You broke his arm." "Good." "Vincent, he hurt you. He locked you in your own shop and put his hands on you. He's lucky I didn't break more than his arm." Lily pulled her arm back. "This is who you are, isn't it? When things get difficult, you get violent. Only when violence is the answer, which it was. You can't just decide that." "I can, and I did, and I'd do it again." They stared at each other, the gulf between them suddenly visible. Lily had known intellectually what Vincent was capable of, but knowing and seeing were different things. Knowing and watching him beat a man bloody with his bare hands while his face stayed blank were very different things. "I'm scared of you," she whispered. Pain flashed across Vincent's face. "I know. But I'm also grateful, and I don't know what to do with that." Vincent stepped back, putting distance between them. "Pack a bag. We leave in an hour. You can figure out what to do with it later." He walked to his office and closed the door. Lily stood alone in the living room, her arm throbbing, her shop destroyed, her life once again in pieces. 3 days ago, she'd been a florist running from her ex-boyfriend. Now she was fleeing the city with a man who'd just hospitalized someone to protect her. She didn't know what she was anymore. Didn't know if she was making the smartest decision of her life or the stupidest. But an hour later, she had a bag packed and was sitting in Vincent's car as they headed out of the city, and she still hadn't asked him to take her anywhere else. Maybe that was answer enough. They drove north for 3 hours in near silence, the city shrinking in the rearview mirror until it disappeared completely behind hills and forest. Vincent's hand stayed steady on the wheel, his expression unreadable. Lily watched the landscape change from urban sprawl to suburbs to something wilder and emptier, and tried to figure out what she was doing. Running away with a man who'd just put her ex-boyfriend in the hospital. That's what she was doing. The thought should have sent her scrambling for the door at the next red light. Instead, she just felt numb. Where are we going? She finally asked. I have a house about 40 minutes from here. No one knows about it except the people I trust completely. How many people is that? 3. Lily looked at him. That's not many. No, it's not. The road narrowed, became gravel, then dirt. Trees pressed in on both sides, tall pines that blocked out most of the afternoon light. They turned onto an unmarked driveway that wound through the woods for another 10 minutes before opening onto a clearing. The house was nothing like the penthouse. It was wood and stone, built low to the ground like it was trying to disappear into the landscape. Large windows looked out over a lake that stretched silver and still in the fading light. No other houses were visible, no signs of civilization at all. Vincent parked and killed the engine. The silence was immediate and total. It's remote, he said, but it's safe. No one will find us here. Is that what we're doing? Hiding? We're giving the lawyers time to work and the police time to process what happened. That's all. Lily got out of the car and breathed in air that smelled like pine and water and nothing else. The quiet was almost overwhelming after days in the city. She could hear birds, wind in the trees, the faint lap of water against the shore. Vincent grabbed their bags from the trunk and led her to the house. Inside was more of the same aesthetic, simple, functional, comfortable without being luxurious. A main room with a stone fireplace, a kitchen that opened onto it, bedrooms down a short hall. Everything built from natural materials, everything designed to blend in rather than stand out. There are 2 bedrooms, Vincent said, setting down the bags. You can take whichever you prefer. You're not assuming we'll share? I'm not assuming anything, not after today. He walked to the kitchen and started opening cabinets, checking supplies. Lily stood in the main room and felt the weight of everything that had happened crash down on her all at once. Her shop was a crime scene. Marcus was in the hospital. She'd watched Vincent beat someone until his knuckles bled and his face went blank. She'd run away instead of staying to deal with it. She'd chosen Vincent over everything else without really choosing at all, just letting circumstance make the decision for her. I need a minute, she said. Vincent looked up. Take whatever time you need. Lily walked outside onto the deck that overlooked the lake. The sun was setting, turning everything gold and orange. It was beautiful in a way that felt almost obscene given everything else. Like the world didn't care that her life was falling apart. She sat on the edge of the deck, legs dangling, and tried to cry. But the tears wouldn't come. She just felt empty and tired and lost. Footsteps behind her. Vincent sat down beside her, maintaining a careful distance. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For what? For losing control. For letting you see that. For dragging you into this. You didn't drag me. I came willingly. You came because you had no other choice. That's not the same thing. Lily looked at him. His profile was sharp against the sunset, all angles and shadows. Did you mean it? That you wanted to kill him? Yes. But you stopped because I asked. Yes. What if I hadn't been there? What if I hadn't asked? Vincent was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. Maybe I would have stopped anyway. Maybe not. That's terrifying. I know. You can't make decisions like that, about who deserves to live or die. I make decisions like that every day. It's what I do. Lily pulled her knees to her chest. Tell me about them. The people you've killed. Vincent leaned back on his hands, looking out at the water. The first was a man who tried to kill me. I was 22. Working as an enforcer for someone who turned out to be less legitimate than I thought. The man came at me with a knife in an alley. I took it away from him and used it. Self-defense, technically, though I never reported it. And the others? The second was a business associate who was skimming money and putting people at risk. My employer asked me to handle it. I did, quickly, cleanly, told myself it was necessary. Was it? Probably not. There were other ways, but killing him was faster and sent a message. And the third? Vincent's jaw tightened. The third was my father. Lily went very still. What? He was dying anyway. Cancer. But he was taking too long about it and making everyone around him miserable. He asked me to help him finish it. Said he trusted me more than doctors or pills. So I did. That's different. That's mercy. Maybe. Or maybe I just wanted him gone and took the opportunity when it was offered. You don't really believe that. I don't know what I believe. I know I held the pillow. I know I didn't stop when he started to struggle. I know I felt relief when it was over. Lily reached over and took his hand. His fingers were rough, scarred, capable of terrible things. She held them anyway. You're not a monster, she said. How do you know? Because monsters don't cook breakfast or buy poetry books or stop when someone asks them to. Vincent looked down at their joined hands. You're putting a lot of faith in very limited evidence. Maybe. Or maybe I see something you don't. What do you see? Someone who's been alone so long he's forgotten how to be anything else. Someone who built walls so high he can't see over them anymore. Someone who's good at terrible things but would rather be good at normal ones. Vincent's throat worked. That's a generous interpretation. It's what I see. Am I wrong? I don't know. No one's ever bothered to look that closely before. They sat in silence as the sun finished setting and the lake turned from gold to silver to black. Stars emerged overhead, more than Lily had ever seen in the city. The air grew cold. We should go inside, Vincent said. I'll make dinner. You're always making dinner. It's what I'm good at, normal things. They went inside and Vincent busied himself in the kitchen while Lily explored the house. It was smaller than the penthouse, but felt more lived in. There were books on the shelves here, fiction mostly, worn paperbacks with creased spines. A chess set sat half-finished on a side table. Photographs hung on the walls, but they were landscapes, not people. Lily chose the smaller bedroom and left her bag on the bed. When she returned to the main room, Vincent had made pasta again, his apparent default when stressed, and was setting the table. They ate together, the silence more comfortable now. Lily was exhausted in a way that went beyond physical tiredness. She felt wrung out, scraped clean, like everything she'd been holding on to had finally let go. What happens now? She asked when they'd finished eating. My lawyer will handle the police. He's good. The best. Marcus's story won't hold up. Too many witnesses saw him break the restraining order. Too much evidence that he grabbed you first. But you still broke in and beat him. I used reasonable force to stop an assault in progress. That's the legal argument, and it'll work. You sound very sure. I've done this before. Different circumstances, but the principle is the same. The system is predictable if you know how to navigate it. Lily pushed food around her plate. What about my shop? Your insurance will cover the door. The rest is cosmetic. You could reopen in a week if you wanted to. Do I want to? Vincent looked at her steadily. That's up to you. What if Marcus comes back? He won't. You can't know that. I can. Between the assault charge, the broken restraining order, and the hospital stay, he's looking at serious consequences. And once the legal process finishes destroying what's left of his life, he'll either leave the city or end up in jail. Either way, he won't be your problem anymore. It should have felt like victory. Instead, Lily just felt tired. I didn't want this. Any of this. I know. I just wanted to sell flowers and have a quiet life, that's all. You can still have that. Can I? After everything that's happened? After you? Vincent stood and started clearing dishes. I told you from the beginning, you're free to leave whenever you want. That hasn't changed. But everything else has. Yes. Lily helped him wash dishes in silence. Their hands bumped occasionally in the soapy water, small touches that felt significant in a way they shouldn't. When everything was clean and put away, Vincent dried his hands and looked at her. You should rest. It's been a long day. I don't think I can sleep. Then sit with me. We'll watch the fire. He built one in the stone fireplace while Lily curled up on the couch. The flames caught and grew, casting dancing shadows across the room. Vincent sat in the chair across from her, and for a while they just existed in the warmth and quiet. Can I ask you something? Lily said. Always. Do you regret helping me? Vincent leaned forward, elbows on his knees. No, never. Even though it's complicated everything? Especially because of that. My life was very simple before you, simple and empty. I'd take complicated over empty any day. What if I can't handle it? The violence, the danger, all of it. Then we figure something else out. I'm adaptable. Are you? You seem pretty set in your ways. Vincent smiled slightly. I've been set in my ways for 15 years. Maybe it's time for that to change. Because of me. Yes, that's a lot of pressure. You keep saying that, and I keep telling you I'm not asking you to fix me. Just stay. Be here. Let me try to be someone worth staying for. Lily pulled a blanket over her legs. What if you already are? Vincent went very still. What? What if I'm not staying because I think you'll change? What if I'm staying because of who you are right now? A killer who solved your problem with his fists? Someone who protected me when no one else would. Someone who's honest about his flaws. Someone who makes me feel safe even when I probably shouldn't. That's insane. Probably, but here I am anyway. Vincent stood and crossed to the couch. He sat beside her, close enough that their knees touched. Lily Hart, you are either the bravest person I've ever met or the most reckless. Can I be both? Yes, you can. He kissed her then, soft and careful, like she was something precious he was afraid of breaking. Lily leaned into it, her hand coming up to cup his face. The kiss deepened, became less careful and more necessary. When they broke apart, Vincent rested his forehead against hers. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Care about someone. Let them matter. It's been so long. We'll figure it out together. What if I mess it up? Then you mess it up, and we deal with it. Vincent pulled back to look at her. You're remarkably calm about all this. I'm too tired to panic anymore. Ask me again tomorrow when I've slept and had coffee. He smiled, a real smile, the kind that transformed his whole face and made him look younger. Deal. They sat together on the couch, the fire burning low, and talked about small things. Favorite books. Worst jobs. Places they'd traveled or wanted to. Surface conversations that felt deeper just by virtue of happening at all. Eventually, Lily's eyes started to close despite her best efforts. Vincent noticed and stood, pulling her up gently. Bed, you're exhausted. Will you stay, like last night? If you want me to. I do. They went to the smaller bedroom together. Lily changed into borrowed pajamas while Vincent waited outside. When she opened the door, he was still fully dressed, uncertain. You can't sleep in a suit, she said. I don't have anything else here. So sleep in your boxers. I won't look. Lily, just get in the bed, Vincent. He did, stripping down to his undershirt and boxers with his back turned. Lily watched anyway, noting the scars on his shoulders and back. Stories written in scar tissue that he'd probably never tell. They lay down together, Vincent on top of the covers again, Lily under them. She shifted closer until her head rested on his shoulder. This is becoming a habit, Vincent said quietly. Is that bad? No, just unfamiliar. You'll get used to it. Will I? If I have anything to say about it, yes. Vincent's arm came around her. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we'll figure out what comes next. But Lily was already drifting off, warm and safe and more at peace than she'd been in months. Tomorrow could bring whatever it wanted. Tonight she had this. She woke in the middle of the night to find Vincent sitting up beside her, staring out the window at the moonlit lake. His profile was tense. Can't sleep? She asked quietly. Thinking. About what? About how to keep you safe. About what Marcus might do when he gets out of the hospital. About whether bringing you here was smart or selfish. Lily sat up and took his hand. It was both. Most things are. I keep playing it over in my head. The shop, his hands on you, the way I just lost control. You stopped when I asked. Barely. For a moment there, I wanted to kill him so badly I could taste it. But you didn't. That's what matters. Vincent looked at her. You have a lot of faith in very thin margins. I have faith in you. Is that so hard to believe? Yes. Most people who know what I am run the other direction. I'm not most people. No, you're really not. He kissed her then, and it was different from before. More desperate, more honest. like he was trying to communicate something he didn't have words for. Lily kissed him back with equal intensity, her hands tangling in his hair. They broke apart, breathing hard. Vincent's hands framed her face. "If we do this," he said quietly, "if we actually try, you need to understand what you're signing up for. My life is not normal. It's not safe. People might try to use you to get to me. There will be things I can't tell you. Decisions I have to make that you'll hate." "I know." "And you're still willing?" "I'm terrified, but yes." "Then we try, really try, not just hiding out and pretending, actually building something real. Starting when?" "Starting now." He kissed her again, and this time neither of them pulled back. They fell into it together, the kiss turning into something more. Hands exploring, walls coming down. Vincent was careful with her, gentle despite the strength in his hands, like he was continually reminding himself that she wasn't something to break. Lily fell asleep afterward, tangled up with him, his heartbeat steady under her ear. When she woke again, dawn was breaking over the lake, and Vincent was still there, still awake, watching her with an expression she couldn't quite name. "You really don't sleep, do you?" she said. "Not well. Not usually." "What do you think about all night?" "Tonight? You. What happens next? How to make this work? And what did you decide? That I'm willing to try anything, change anything, be anyone, if it means I get to keep this." Lily propped herself up on one elbow. "I don't want you to be anyone else. I want you to be you, just less alone." "I can do that." "Can you? Really?" Vincent pulled her down into a kiss instead of answering. When he finally let her up for air, he said, "I'm going to try. That's all I can promise. That's enough." They stayed in bed longer than they should have, talking and touching and existing in a bubble where nothing else mattered. Eventually, hunger drove them to the kitchen, where Vincent made eggs and toast while Lily sat at the counter watching him move through the familiar routine. "We should talk about what happens when we go back," she said. "What do you want to happen?" "I want to reopen my shop. I want Marcus to stay far away. I want to figure out what this is between us without running away." "All doable." "Is it? Because it feels impossible." Vincent set a plate in front of her. "Nothing's impossible, just difficult. There's a difference." They ate breakfast while sunlight poured through the windows, turning everything warm and golden. Lily felt something in her chest unclench. For the first time since this whole thing started, she felt like maybe it would actually work out. "How long do we stay here?" she asked. "A few more days. Let the lawyers do their work. Let things settle." "And then?" "Then we go back. You reopen your shop. I continue my work. We figure out how to exist in each other's lives without it being a crisis." "That sounds remarkably normal." "Don't get used to it. Normal doesn't last long in my world." "Then we'll enjoy it while we can." They spent the day exploring the property, walking down to the lake, following trails through the woods, existing in quiet companionship. Vincent showed her the small dock where he kept a rowboat, the clearing where deer came to drink at dusk, the spot where the view opened up to show mountains in the distance. "This place is beautiful," Lily said. "Why don't you come here more?" "Because it's quiet, and quiet means thinking, and I've spent 15 years avoiding thinking too much." "About what?" "About whether the life I built was actually what I wanted, about what I gave up to get it, about whether I'd become my father without meaning to." "And now?" "Now I think maybe it's time to figure out different answers." They rowed out onto the lake as afternoon turned to evening. Vincent handled the oars while Lily trailed her fingers in the water. The silence was comfortable, broken only by birdsong and the splash of oars. "I could get used to this," Lily said. "To what?" "Peace. Quiet. Being with you without crisis driving it. We've only known each other a week." "Has it really been just a week?" Vincent stopped rowing and looked at her. "Feels longer. Like maybe we've been building to this for a while. Or like we just fit, despite everything saying we shouldn't. Yeah, that." They floated in the middle of the lake, the sun setting behind the trees, and Lily realized she was happy, Genuinely, completely happy. Despite Marcus. Despite the violence. Despite everything. Maybe that made her crazy. Maybe it made her reckless. But sitting in a rowboat with a man who'd killed people and still looked at her like she mattered, that was worth whatever came next. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what?" "For closing the elevator doors, for feeding me, for protecting me, for being honest, for all of it." Vincent reached across the boat and took her hand. "Thank you for running into my elevator, for making pasta taste better just by being there, for seeing past what I am to who I might be, for staying. We're both pretty damaged, aren't we?" "Completely, but maybe that's okay." "Maybe it is." They rowed back to shore as the last light faded. Inside the house, Vincent made dinner while Lily lit the fire. They ate together and talked about nothing important, and it felt like the most important thing in the world. Later, lying in bed with Vincent's arm around her and the sound of wind in the trees outside, Lily thought about the future, about her shop with flowers spilling onto the street, about Vincent learning to let someone in, about building something real out of the wreckage of everything that had gone wrong. "What are you thinking?" Vincent asked in the darkness. "That I want peonies in my shop, lots of them, even though they're temperamental and don't last long." "Because they're perfect when they bloom." "Exactly. I'll make sure you have them, as many as you want. And I want you there. Not all the time, you have your work. But sometimes, bringing me coffee, keeping me company. I can do that. Can you really? Step into a normal life, even part-time?" Vincent was quiet for a moment. "I don't know, but I want to try. For you, for us, for whatever this becomes." "What if it becomes everything?" "Then I'll figure out how to handle everything, one day at a time." Lily kissed his shoulder. "That's all anyone can do." They fell asleep tangled together, and for the first time in longer than Lily could remember, she didn't have nightmares. She didn't wake up afraid. She just slept, deep and dreamless, held safe by someone who'd chosen her despite every reason not to. Morning came with rain pattering against the windows. They stayed in bed longer than necessary, talking in the gray light about plans and possibilities and everything they'd build when they returned to the city. "2 more days," Vincent said. "Then we face reality. Will we be ready? Probably not. But we'll do it anyway. Together. Yes, together." And lying there in a house in the woods with rain falling outside and the future uncertain but no longer terrifying, Lily believed him. The rain kept falling through the second day, steady and gray, turning the lake into hammered steel. Vincent made coffee while Lily stood at the window watching water run down the glass in rivulets. She'd slept better than she had in months, maybe years, and waking up with Vincent's arms still around her had felt startlingly right. "Your lawyer called," Vincent said, handing her a mug. "Marcus is out of the hospital. Broken arm, fractured jaw, concussion. He's being arraigned this afternoon on assault charges in violation of the restraining order." Lily wrapped both hands around the warm ceramic. "How long will he go to jail?" "Depends on his lawyer and the judge. Could be 6 months, could be 2 years with the priors. Either way, he won't be your problem anymore." "It doesn't feel real." "What doesn't?" "That it's actually over. That I can go back to my life without looking over my shoulder." Vincent leaned against the counter. "It's over. I made sure of it." The certainty in his voice should have comforted her. Instead, it reminded Lily of what Vincent was capable of when he decided someone needed to be handled. She took a sip of coffee and changed the subject. "What about you? Are you in trouble for what you did?" "No. The security footage from your shop shows Marcus locking the door and grabbing you. Self-defense is an easy sell when there's video evidence. The DA isn't even pursuing charges." "Just like that." "Just like that. I told you, the system is predictable when you know how it works." Lily set down her coffee and turned to face him fully. "Is this what it'll always be like? Problems solved with violence and lawyers and connections?" Vincent was quiet for a moment, considering. "Not always, but sometimes. My world operates a certain way. I can try to keep you separate from it, but there will be overlap. There will be situations where I have to make choices you won't like. And if I can't live with that, then we find a middle ground. Or we don't, and you walk away. But either way, I need you to know what you're choosing." I feel like I've been choosing blind this whole time. Then ask. Whatever you want to know. I'll answer honestly. Lily poured herself more coffee, buying time to think. Outside, the rain intensified, drumming against the roof. Finally, she said, "What do you actually do?" "For work." The real answer this time. Vincent moved to stand beside her at the window. "I broker deals between people who can't meet directly. Sometimes that's because they're competitors. Sometimes it's because one or both operate outside the law. I facilitate transactions, mediate disputes, occasionally provide security for high-value exchanges. That sounds like organized crime. It touches organized crime, but I'm not part of any family or syndicate. I'm independent, neutral, which is why people trust me." "And the violence? When does that come in?" "When negotiations fail, when someone needs an example made, when protection requires more than just presence." He looked at her. "I don't enjoy it, but I'm good at it, and people pay well for competence." "Have you killed anyone since your father?" "No. I've hurt people, scared people, destroyed lives and livelihoods. But I haven't killed anyone in 11 years. "Why not?" "Because after my father died, I looked at myself and realized I'd become exactly what he raised me to be. Someone who solved problems by erasing them. I decided that was a line I wouldn't cross again unless I had absolutely no other choice." Lily turned that over in her mind. "But you almost crossed it with Marcus." "Yes, because he had his hands on you and I stopped thinking clearly. That's the danger, Lily. When it comes to you, I'm not sure I can stay rational." "Is that supposed to be romantic?" "Because it sounds terrifying. It's both. That's the point I'm trying to make. Being with me means dealing with the fact that I'm not always in control, that there are triggers I can't fully predict, that my first instinct when someone threatens what's mine is to eliminate the threat. I'm not yours to protect like property. I know, but you are someone I care about, and I don't know how to care halfway." Lily looked up at him. Rain blurred the world outside until they were the only solid things in it. "What happens when we go back, really?" "You reopen your shop. I go back to work. We see each other when we can. We build something slow and careful instead of crisis-driven. And if it doesn't work, then at least we tried. That's more than either of us had a week ago." It was such a simple answer, such a human answer from someone who made a living being inhuman. Lily found herself smiling despite everything. "Okay," she said. "We try." "Just like that?" "Just like that. I'm tired of being afraid, tired of overthinking. Let's just see what happens." Vincent pulled her into a kiss that tasted like coffee and rain and possibility. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "I'm going to mess this up," he said quietly. "At some point. I'll work too much, or make a decision you hate, or revert to old patterns. And I'll probably be too cautious, or too demanding, or too scared of your world. We'll both mess up. That's how this works. You're remarkably calm about impending disaster. I've already survived one. What's another?" They spent the day inside while rain hammered the roof and turned the world gray. Vincent worked on his laptop, handling business from the couch, while Lily read one of the paperbacks from the shelf. Occasionally their eyes would meet, and they'd smile, and it felt absurdly domestic for two people who'd known each other barely a week. Around 3, Vincent's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his expression shifted to something harder. "I need to take this," he said, standing and walking to the bedroom. Lily tried not to listen, but the house was small enough that she caught fragments anyway. Vincent's voice, low and sharp. Someone asking him to handle something. Vincent saying he wasn't available. The other person pushing. Vincent's voice dropping to a tone that made it clear the conversation was over. He returned 10 minutes later looking tense. "Problem?" Lily asked. "A client wants me to mediate a dispute, tonight, in the city. So we go back early?" "No, I told them I wasn't available." Lily set down her book. "You can turn down work?" "I can do whatever I want. I'm choosing to stay here with you." Vincent, "If you need to work, I need to be here more than I need that job. They'll find someone else." He sat back down on the couch, but the tension stayed in his shoulders. Lily watched him try to settle back into what they'd been doing and fail. "How often do you turn down work?" she asked. Almost never. So this is new for you. Everything about this is new for me. Lily moved to sit beside him, close enough that their legs touched. What are you afraid of? That I'll fall back into old patterns. That I'll prioritize work over everything else because that's what I've always done. That I'll wake up in 6 months and realize I've lost you because I couldn't figure out how to be different. You know what I'm afraid of? What? That you'll change too much. That you'll try so hard to be what you think I need that you'll stop being yourself. And I'll end up with some watered-down version of you instead of the real thing. Vincent looked at her. You want the version that puts people in the hospital? I want the version that's honest about who he is and what he's capable of, who doesn't pretend to be safe when he's not, who trusts me enough to handle the truth. That's a lot to ask. You're the one who said you wanted to try. Vincent pulled her closer, his arm around her shoulders. I did. I do. It's just, I've spent so long being one thing. Becoming something else feels impossible. You don't have to become something else. Just add to what you already are. Make room for this alongside everything else. And if there's not enough room, then we'll make more. Together. They sat like that while rain continued its steady assault on the roof. Eventually Vincent relaxed, his breathing evening out, and Lily knew the moment had passed. He'd chosen her over work. It was small maybe, but it mattered. That night they made dinner together, Vincent cooking while Lily chopped vegetables and talked about her plans for the shop. She wanted to expand, she said. Get a bigger space, hire help, maybe start doing events and weddings instead of just walk-in business. That'll take capital, Vincent observed. I know, I'll get a loan. Or I could invest. Lily stopped chopping. What? I have money. You have a business plan. We could make it a formal arrangement. Silent partner. You maintain full creative control. Vincent, think about it. No pressure, but the offer stands. Lily wanted to say no immediately, wanted to maintain independence, but she was also practical enough to know that Vincent's money could turn her modest flower shop into something real, something sustainable. Let me think about it, she said. Take your time. They ate dinner and talked about logistics, when to return to the city, what to do about Lily's apartment, whether she'd stay at the penthouse or find her own place. Big decisions that felt overwhelming until Vincent pointed out they could make them one at a time instead of all at once. You're surprisingly good at this, Lily said. At what? Talking through problems instead of just solving them unilaterally. I'm trying a new approach. No idea if it'll work. It's working so far. That night they made love slowly, carefully, learning each other without the desperation that had driven them before. Afterward, Lily lay with her head on Vincent's chest, listening to his heartbeat and feeling more settled than she had in years. Can I tell you something? She said into the darkness. Anything. I think I'm falling in love with you, which is insane given everything, but there it is. Vincent's hand stilled where it had been running through her hair. That is insane. I know. We barely know each other. I know that too. I'm dangerous and broken and probably going to hurt you eventually. Probably. Are you going to say it back or just list reasons why I shouldn't have said it? Vincent was quiet for so long that Lily started to regret her honesty. Then he said, very quietly, I think I've been falling since you ran into my elevator looking terrified and soaking wet. I just didn't have a word for it until now. Lily propped herself up to look at him. That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. It's true. You crashed into my life and nothing's been the same since. I don't know if that's love yet, but it's something. Something I want to keep. Me too. So we keep it. Figure out what it becomes. Deal. They fell asleep tangled together, and when Lily woke in the middle of the night, Vincent was sleeping too. Actually sleeping, his face peaceful in a way she'd never seen. She watched him for a while, this man who'd killed and protected and chosen her despite every reason not to, and felt something settle in her chest. This was real. Whatever it became, it was real. Morning brought clear skies and the decision to return to the city. They packed their bags, locked up the house, and drove south through forests that sparkled with yesterday's rain. Lily watched the landscape change and felt nervous anticipation building in her stomach. What if it's different when we're back? she asked. What if this only worked because we were isolated? Then we'll figure out how to make it work anyway, Vincent said. Stop looking for reasons it'll fail. I'm not. I'm just preparing for it. There's a difference between preparing and expecting. One is smart, the other is self-sabotage. He had a point. Lily made herself stop thinking about all the ways this could go wrong and focus on the fact that Vincent's hand was wrapped around hers and they were driving toward something instead of away from it. They reached the city by early afternoon. The penthouse felt different somehow, less like a museum and more like a place where actual people lived. Vincent's laptop was still on the coffee table. Lily's books were scattered around, small signs of occupation that hadn't been there before. I should check on my shop, Lily said, setting down her bag. I'll drive you. You don't have to. I know. I'm coming anyway. They drove to Petals and Stems in comfortable silence. The damage was less than Lily had feared. The door had been repaired already, courtesy of Vincent's people. Inside, everything was just as she'd left it, except cleaner, like someone had come in and tidied while they were gone. You had someone clean, Lily said. I had someone make sure it was ready for you to reopen. Is that okay? It's perfect. Thank you. She walked through the shop, touching familiar things. Her work counter, the cooler where she kept arrangements, the window boxes that needed replanting. This was hers. This was what she'd built before everything went wrong, and now she got to have it back. Vincent stayed near the door, giving her space. Lily turned to look at him. I want to reopen tomorrow, she said. Are you sure you're ready? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Then I'll be here, making sure nothing goes wrong. You can't bodyguard me forever. Watch me try. Lily crossed to him and took his hands. I appreciate the instinct, but I need to do this on my own, prove to myself that I can. Vincent's jaw tightened. I don't like it. I know, but it's important. I can't spend the rest of my life being protected. I need to be able to stand on my own. You're right. I hate it. But you're right. How about this? You can drive me here in the morning and pick me up at closing, but during the day I handle it myself. Vincent considered this. And you'll call me if anything feels wrong? Immediately. All right. We'll try it your way. They went back to the penthouse and spent the evening preparing for normal life to resume. Vincent made calls, checking in with clients and business associates. Lily went through her shop inventory and placed orders for fresh flowers. Mundane tasks that felt significant just because they were doing them. That night, lying in Vincent's bed, their bed now, she supposed, Lily said, I've been thinking about your offer to invest in the shop. And I want to do it, but as a real partnership, not you just giving me money. I want you involved, decision-making, planning, all of it. Vincent rolled to face her. You're sure? That's a lot of overlap between personal and professional. I know, but I trust you, and I think we could build something good together. I don't know anything about flowers. You'll learn. I didn't know anything about organized crime-adjacent business dealings either. That's not... Vincent stopped. Fair point. So we're doing this? Really doing this? We're really doing this, business partners and whatever else we are. I think the whatever else is called a relationship. Is it? I'm not sure I've ever had one of those. Me neither. Not a real one. Want to figure it out together? Yes. Absolutely yes. They kissed, and it felt like sealing a promise, like committing to something bigger than either of them had planned. When they broke apart, Vincent pulled her close. Fair warning, he said. I'm going to be terrible at this. So will I. We'll be terrible together. That's the most romantic thing you've ever said to me. Lily laughed into his shoulder. We're both kind of broken, aren't we? Completely. But maybe that's okay. Maybe it's better than okay. Morning came bright and cold. Lily dressed carefully in clothes that felt like her, jeans, a sweater, the practical boots she wore for working in the shop. She braided her hair back and looked at herself in the mirror. The woman looking back had been through hell in the past 2 weeks, but she was still standing, still fighting, still choosing to build instead of hide. Vincent drove her to the shop as promised. He parked across the street and looked at her seriously. You call if you need anything. I will. I mean it, Lily. Anything feels wrong, you call. I promise. She kissed him quickly and got out of the car before she could change her mind. The shop was cold and still when she unlocked it, but it came alive as soon as she turned on the lights and the heat. She spent the morning restocking, arranging displays, getting everything ready. Her first customer came in at 10, a regular who was thrilled to see her back. Then another. Then more. By noon, Petals and Stems was bustling like it always had, full of people buying flowers for 1,000 different reasons. Lily worked steadily, her hands moving through familiar motions, trimming stems, arranging bouquets, wrapping purchases. This was what she was good at. This was what made sense. At 3, the bell above the door chimed and she looked up to see Detective Morrison walking in. Lily's stomach clenched. Detective? Ms. Hart, good to see you back in business. Thank you. Is this about Marcus? Partly. He took a plea deal, 18 months, eligible for parole in 9. Given his history, the judge wasn't lenient. Relief flooded through Lily. That's good. Thank you for letting me know. There's something else. Morrison looked uncomfortable. The investigation into Vincent Moretti. It's been closed. Insufficient evidence to pursue charges. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that we looked. We looked hard. And we couldn't find anything that would stick. Either he's extremely good at covering his tracks, or he's exactly what he claims to be, a legitimate businessman with questionable associates. And you're saying this because? Because I like you, Ms. Hart, and I want you to be careful. Men like Moretti, even the legitimate ones, they live complicated lives. You sure you want to be part of that? Lily thought about Vincent's hands in soapy water, about the way he looked at her like she was something precious, about how he'd turned down work to stay with her, about the life they were trying to build. I'm sure, she said, but thank you for caring. Morrison nodded. You know where to find me if that changes. She left, and Lily stood in her shop surrounded by flowers and possibility, and knew she'd made the right choice. The day passed in a blur of customers and arrangements and work that filled her with satisfaction. At 6, she locked the door and started cleaning up. She was elbow-deep in wrapping paper when the bell chimed anyway. She turned to see Vincent letting himself in with a key she hadn't realized he had. When did you get a key to my shop? I had one made while we were gone. Is that okay? Lily pretended to think about it. I suppose, since you're my business partner now. About that, I had my lawyer draw up paperwork. Fair terms. You maintain majority ownership and creative control. Show me. They spent an hour going over the contract at her work counter, Vincent explaining clauses while Lily asked questions. It was fair, more than fair. He was investing significant money for minimal control. It was the deal of someone who trusted her completely. Why? She asked when they'd finished reading. Why give me this much control? Because it's your dream. I'm just helping you build it. I don't need to own it to be part of it. Lily signed the papers, and just like that, she had a business partner. Vincent signed too, and they shook hands formally before dissolving into laughter. This is insane, Lily said. We're insane. Probably, but we're doing it anyway. They closed up the shop together and drove back to the penthouse. Over dinner, Vincent cooking again, Lily helping, they talked about expansion plans, a bigger space, more inventory. Maybe a second location eventually. I want to specialize in peonies, Lily said. I know they're difficult and expensive, but they're perfect when they bloom. Then we'll make it work, whatever you need. Just like that? Just like that. I told you. I'm all in on this. Later, lying in bed with the city glowing through the windows, Vincent said, Detective Morrison came by, didn't she? How did you know? I had someone watching the shop, making sure you were safe. Vincent, I know you said you wanted to handle it alone, but I couldn't just do nothing. Compromise. I watched from a distance without interfering. Lily should have been angry, should have felt violated. Instead, she just felt cared for. What did your watcher report? That you handled 6 hours of customers without issue and turned away a vendor who was trying to overcharge you. Very impressive. You're incorrigible. I'm thorough. There's a difference. What am I going to do with you? Vincent pulled her closer. I have some ideas. 3 months later, Lily stood in the new location of Petals and Stems, twice the size of the old shop, with massive windows and professional coolers and a dedicated workspace. The grand opening had been a success beyond anything she'd imagined. Customers had lined up around the block. Her new hire was working out perfectly, and the entire front window was filled with peonies in every shade of pink and white, their massive blooms perfect and temporary and absolutely worth it. Vincent stood beside her, watching people stream in and out with flowers in their arms. "You did it," he said quietly. "We did it. I couldn't have done this alone." "You could have. It would have just taken longer." Lily leaned against him. Over the past 3 months, they'd fallen into a rhythm that actually worked. Vincent still did whatever mysterious business he did, but he came home to her, made her dinner, helped with shop decisions, slowly learned the names of flowers and which ones needed what care. Lily had stopped asking about the details of his work. She knew enough to understand he was still operating in gray areas, still solving problems in ways that weren't entirely legal. But he kept that world separate from theirs, and she trusted him to maintain the boundary. They weren't perfect. They fought sometimes, about Vincent being overprotective, about Lily working too much, about 1,000 small things that came with learning to exist in each other's lives. But they always talked it through, always found middle ground. "I have something for you," Vincent said, pulling a small box from his pocket. Lily's heart jumped. "Vincent, it's not what you think. Open it." Inside was a key. Not to his penthouse. She already had one of those. This was different, older, brass instead of silver. "What is this?" "The key to the house by the lake. I'm putting it in your name, 50-50 ownership, so we both have somewhere to go when the city gets too loud." Lily's eyes burned. "That's your place. Your escape." "It's our place now. If you want it to be." "Of course I want it to be." She kissed him there in the shop, surrounded by flowers and customers and the life they'd built together. When they broke apart, Vincent was smiling, that rare, genuine smile that transformed his whole face. "I love you," he said. "I should have said it sooner, but I'm saying it now. I love you." "I love you too, even though you're overprotective and secretive and probably committing crimes I don't want to know about." "Especially because of that?" "Despite it, which is close enough." They stood together in the flower shop as evening light poured through the windows, turning everything gold. Outside, the city moved on, indifferent to their small victory. But inside, Lily Hart had everything she'd fought for, a business that was thriving, a partner who understood her, and a future that felt possible instead of terrifying. 6 months after that, Vincent proposed. Not with a ring and champagne or some elaborate production, but quietly over breakfast in the lake house, rain falling outside like the night they'd met. "Marry me," he said, like he was asking her to pass the salt. Lily looked up from her eggs. "What?" "Marry me. Make this permanent. Build something that lasts." That's possibly the least romantic proposal in history. "I'm not a romantic man, but I'm yours. If you'll have me." Lily thought about everything that had brought them here. The fear, the violence, the gradual understanding that sometimes the right person came wrapped in the wrong circumstances. That love wasn't always safe or simple, but it was worth fighting for anyway. "Yes," she said. "Obviously, yes." They got married 3 months later in a small ceremony at the lake house. No big production, just them and a handful of people who mattered. Lily wore a simple dress. Vincent wore a suit. They said vows they'd written themselves about choosing each other every day, despite their flaws. And when the officiant pronounced them married, Lily looked at this man who'd been a stranger in an elevator and was now her husband and felt complete in a way she never had before. They honeymooned at the lake house, spending 2 weeks doing nothing but existing together. Vincent taught Lily to row properly. Lily taught Vincent the names of wildflowers that grew by the shore. They made love and made breakfast and made plans for the future. "I'm thinking about going legitimate," Vincent said one morning over coffee. "What does that mean?" "Cutting ties with the questionable associates. Focusing on legal consulting work. Maybe teaching. I know a lot about negotiation and conflict resolution." "You'd be bored in a week." "Maybe. But I'm tired of looking over my shoulder. Tired of you looking over my shoulder. I want a life that's just hours, without complications. Life is always complicated. Then I want complications we choose, not ones forced on us. Lily took his hand. If you want to go legitimate, I support you. But don't do it just for me. Do it because it's what you want. What I want is you. Everything else is just logistics. They talked about it for hours, what it would mean, what he'd lose, what they'd gain. By the end of the conversation, Vincent had made his decision. He'd transition out of his current work over the next year, building up the legitimate side until he could walk away from the rest completely. It was ambitious, maybe impossible, but they'd already done several impossible things together. What was one more? A year later, Lily stood in the new flagship location of Petals and Stems, the third shop now, with plans for a fourth. Vincent worked from an office upstairs, consulting on business negotiations and conflict resolution for corporate clients. Legitimate work. Safe work. Work that didn't make Lily worry every time he left the house. They'd created something real together, something that lasted. That evening, they had dinner at the penthouse, which they still kept despite buying a house together, because Vincent wasn't ready to completely give up his fortress of solitude. Lily understood. Some things were too ingrained to fully let go. I'm pregnant, she said over dessert. Vincent's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. What? Pregnant. About 8 weeks. I found out yesterday. He set down the fork very carefully. How do you feel about that? Terrified, excited, both. What about you? Vincent stood and came around the table, pulling her to her feet and into his arms. I have no idea how to be a father. I'll probably be terrible at it. You'll probably be great at it. You're good at protecting things you love. That's not the same as raising a child. No, but it's a start. Lily pulled back to look at him. Are you okay with this? I'm better than okay. He stopped and she saw his eyes were wet. I never thought I'd have this. Any of this. A wife. A real life. A future that includes something other than work and survival. Well, you do. We do. Together. They held each other in the kitchen of the penthouse where this had all started, and Lily thought about how far they'd come. From terrified strangers to partners to parents to be. It shouldn't have worked. By all rights, it should have been a disaster. But somehow, against all odds, they'd built something that mattered. Their daughter was born on a spring morning when the cherry blossoms were blooming outside the hospital windows. Vincent held her with such careful reverence that Lily started crying all over again. She's perfect, he whispered. She's wrinkled and loud. Perfect, he insisted. They named her Rose. Not after anyone in particular, just because it felt right. Rose Moretti, who would grow up knowing she was loved and protected and chosen every single day. Lily watched Vincent with their daughter and saw the man he'd become. Still careful, still controlled, still carrying scars from a past he couldn't change. But softer now, more open. Learning to let people in instead of keeping them at arm's length. 2 years after Rose was born, they bought the property next to the lake house and turned it into a foundation headquarters. The Moretti Heart Foundation, dedicated to helping women escape domestic violence. They provided safe housing, legal assistance, job training, everything Lily had needed and couldn't find when she was running from Marcus. Vincent threw himself into it with the same intensity he'd once applied to less legal pursuits. He understood fear and desperation and the need for safety. He knew how to create protective barriers around vulnerable people, and now he could do it without violence, without breaking laws, just by using his resources and knowledge for something good. Lily ran the foundation's partnerships with local flower shops, creating a network where women could find safe employment. Full circle, she thought. From the woman who needed help to the woman who provided it. 5 years after they met, Lily stood in the flagship shop during a quiet afternoon. Rose played in the back room with coloring books. Vincent was upstairs in his office, on a call with a client. And Lily was arranging peonies, always peonies, for a wedding that weekend. Mrs. Chen came in, moving slower now, but still sharp. Look at you, the older woman said. Married, mother, business owner. I remember when you were so scared you couldn't unlock your own door. I remember that too. And that man of yours, he's good to you? Lily thought about Vincent reading bedtime stories to Rose, about the way he still made her breakfast every morning, about how he'd taken his darkness and turned it into light, not perfectly, but trying every day. "He's very good to me," she said. "Good. You deserve it. After everything." After Mrs. Chen left, Lily stood in her shop and took inventory of her life. A thriving business, a family, a foundation helping people who needed it, a partner who loved her despite and because of everything they'd been through. It wasn't perfect. They still fought, still struggled, still had moments when Vincent's past or Lily's fears threatened to overwhelm them. But they worked through it. Together. Always together. That night, lying in bed with Rose asleep down the hall, and Vincent's arm around her, Lily said, "Do you ever think about that first night? In the elevator? Sometimes you looked so scared. I was terrified of Marcus, of you, of everything. And now? Now I'm just grateful that I ran into that building, that you closed the elevator doors, that we both chose to stay when we could have walked away." Vincent kissed the top of her head. "Best decision I ever made." "Me too." They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, building a future one day at a time. And if Lily sometimes woke in the night and checked to make sure it was all real, that she really had this life, this love, this chance to be happy, well, that was okay. Some fears took longer to fade than others, but they always faded eventually, replaced by something stronger, something that lasted. Years later, when Rose was old enough to ask about how her parents met, Lily would tell her an edited version, about a flower shop and a rainy night and an elevator ride that changed everything. She'd leave out the violence and fear, the broken bones and legal battles, but she'd keep the truth that mattered, that sometimes the right person shows up at exactly the wrong moment, and you have to be brave enough to choose them anyway. That love isn't about perfection. It's about finding someone willing to build something real despite all the reasons it shouldn't work. And that peonies, temperamental and brief as they are worth cultivating. Because when they bloom, they're absolutely perfect, even if it only lasts a little while. Even if it takes work, even if it's complicated, it's perfect anyway. PPD.